you get the water thing to work or what?
No, I went it back.
Ah.
Maybe I gotta change the bottle.
Ah. Warm that thing up. Okay. Sorry for the slight delay, communications. But we'll call the meeting to order and welcome everybody this morning. If you could, I'd please ask if you could rise and we'll take a moment of reflection before we begin our proceedings. I'm going to ask Miss Noble, Ashley, can you give us a rehearsal on anybody that's joining us online this morning?
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Eccles. Before I begin, at any point, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter the ID for this meeting, which is 891-5626-2480. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance, please send a message to West Gray Communications and I will attempt to assist you.
Thank you very much, Ashley. I'll ask, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest on anything on the agenda this morning? Councillor Forrester, Scott?
Thank you. I'll declare conflict on item 10.5.2 grants to organizations, as I'm current president of one of the agriculture societies.
Very good. Deputy Mayor. Deputy Mayor Hutchison.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. I too am going to declare under item 10, staff reports 10.5.2 grants to organizations. And it will be specific to the Durham Hospital Foundation as I'm vice chair of that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Noon. Joyce?
I too will be declaring a conflict of interest to 10.5.2 as I am a member on two of the, or actually three of the items outlined on the grants to organizations.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else? No? And I will say that Councillor Shea is not going to be with us today. He is on vacation, I believe it is, and out of the country maybe even. All right. With that, and if it does arise at any time, it can be declared. This morning, we have a number of delegations. And the first one we're starting with is some recognition of the Fraser Ice mitigation efforts. We have a number of individuals, some of them in companies as well too, that went well above and beyond the call of duty to eradicate or limit any of the damage that was done by the Fraser ice that formed this winter on the Saugeen. There's times when the Saugeen is beautiful and wonderful to have and quite an asset to the community. And there's other times when it's a bit of a liability. And when Fraser ice forms, that's one of those times. But we would like to take this opportunity at this time to recognize, as I said, some of the program and some of the individuals that went above and beyond. And it would be my pleasure to ask them to come forward, and I'll come around. Keep my voice connected. No. CEO tells me that we even have a number of a little care package. Thank you package for them as well too. Bad enough giving a politician one microphone, rule two, Jamie. So the first certificate I have, and I don't know whom is representing whomever today here, but I'm going to ask, do we have somebody from JT Excavating? There she is. JT Excavating and team came forward and supplied 24-hour hi-ho service, and you were there every time in one of those hi-hos operating?
Obviously not.
Take credit for it. Take credit for it, please. But thank you very much for JT,
Thank you.
Jay, and everybody at JT Excavating for the effort you had. And I believe, yeah, if she come just,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you very much. Thanks. Yeah. The second one was from, do we have anybody from Walker Industries here? Nobody's jumping up and say they want to be from Walker. Walker Industries, Walker Construction, and supplied a number of high hose as well too, and equipment, and we're on call for 24 hours a day. And got some of the pictures proceeding up there, as you can see, and as I did say, it was 24 hours a day for a number of days that the operators worked. Now, they did follow the labor laws. I think the equipment went, Steve, right? But the operators didn't operate 24 hours a day. They did very good. We'll see that Walker's gets that as well too. The third one, thank you. And I do see a number of, a couple of individuals from Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, Flood Watch team. Yes, yep. Come forward. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Conservation Authority did a excellent job. They didn't have any excavators. The board hasn't gotten that equipment just yet, but we're on a 24-hour watch to keep us updated on everything, and we're greatly appreciative of your work and efforts to mitigate the Fraser ice. So thank you very much. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you get the certificate, he gets all the gift bags. Yeah, okay. And the fourth one was to one of our own individuals, an employee of West Grey, who spent an inordinate amount of time, and I certainly believe he didn't put in all his overtime. We seemed to be there 24 hours a day for almost the 2 months that it was happening. But Steve Earhart, who has been on this number of times, has been with us, and the experience was invaluable. So Steve, thank you very much again for going above and beyond. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You're more than just a pretty face.
And
Yeah.
just before, can everybody just recognize just come up and we'll take a quick group photo and then we'll get back to business. Thank you.
Well, you're in there now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And it was a successful outcome, I'd like to also add, because of the extraordinary efforts of those and a number of others as well, too. 4.2 on delegations and presentations. We have a presentation from Ashley Noble on communications coordinator on our new municipal website. Ashley, to introduce this. And Ms. Noble's done, if most and if not all, the legwork on this. So Ashley, the floor is yours. You're the one that makes this website work, okay? Yep.
Hello, there we go. No, it's on, it's red. Okay. Good morning, council. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. As most of you know, West Grey has a new website. This is a major step forward in how we serve our residents online, and I'd like to walk you through the process, the features, and what's next. Next slide, please. Our previous website served us well for several years, but technology and user expectations have evolved. Next slide, please. Over the next few slides, I'll highlight some of the most important new features. Next slide, please. Let's start with the search function. GovStack has significantly improved the search engine built into the site, and it's made a huge difference. For example, if someone types in dog tags, which you can see here, the search now returns every relevant page across the site. This makes it much easier and faster for users to find exactly what they're looking for. Next slide, please. I have another example here, which is chickens. As soon as someone types it in, the site immediately brings up any relevant information. And as you can see on this slide here, you can see the frequently asked questions page comes up. Next slide, please. We've introduced several frequently asked question pages, and these aren't generic. They're based on real inquiries we've received from residents. This helps both staff and residents. People can now find exactly what they're looking for online. Next slide, please. The next feature I'd like to highlight is the design and layout. The website features a modern, visual, appealing design that reflects West Grey's refreshed brand. Next slide, please. One example is the use of buttons, such as the Cloud Permit and the Cloud Permit Support buttons shown in this presentation here. These buttons are styled in our brand colors to create a consistent look across every page. To further enhance usability, we've also embedded media like photos and videos. For instance, the How to Submit a Building Permit Application video is embedded directly on this page, which you can see here. Next slide, please. This is the layout update. We've made it easier to access important information from multiple places across the site. For example, home and property is available under several different tabs and sections, so users can find exactly what they're looking for no matter their search. Next slide, please. The homepage. If you're wondering why certain buttons appear on our homepage, they were chosen based on insights from our Google Analytics, specifically the most searched from our previous website. This ensures that high demand information is easy to find right from the homepage, helping users get what they need quickly and efficiently. Next slide, please. The content and the sitemap improvements. Another major improvement to the West Grey website was the complete overhaul of our content and sitemap. We started by reviewing and updating all the existing content from the old website to make sure users have access to the most relevant and up-to-date information. Next slide, please. External review. Oh, here we go. Early in the project, we reviewed websites from other municipalities to understand best practices and modern features. This gave us a great insight into what users expect from government websites and helped identify gaps in our own. Next slide, please. Along with the external review, we also worked closely with the departments across the municipality. Each department had the opportunity to review their content and give feedback on what they felt users needed most. That collaboration allowed us to build a site that's not just informative, but truly user-focused, making it easier for people to access forms, find updates, and connect with online services. Next slide, please. Accessibility. The GovStack CMS includes a built-in tools for accessible content, like prompts for images, alt text, proper heading structures, and accessible form creation. In addition, we've also added a dedicated accessible feedback process on the site, which you can see here, the provide your feedback and the feedback right there. This gives users an easy and inclusive way to share their experiences, raise concerns, or offer suggestions related to accessibility, helping us continue to improve. Next slide, please. Consistency. Throughout the development, Krista and I invested a great deal of time researching what works. We reviewed numerous municipal websites and ensured West Grey's website had a consistent look and feel. This research helped us understand how to clearly and consistently present information, making it easier for users to navigate not only our website, but other municipal websites as well. While West Grey offers some unique programs and services, many of our core offerings are similar to other municipalities. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, next slide. In closing, this new website represents a major step forward for West Grey. It's faster, more accessible, and more user-friendly. I want to emphasize that this is very much a building document. We're still making updates, tweaking, and reviewing content and functionality based on staff input and resident feedback. Like any good digital platform, the site will continue to evolve over time. We're committed to ongoing improvement and encourage everyone to share their experiences so we can continue refining and enhancing the site. Thank you again for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
This is your first presentation in front of council. Be very careful what you ask for. You asked for questions, so Ashley, yeah. Very good, Ashley, and I have been on it, and with my limited time and my limited abilities, I have been able to negotiate it quite a bit easier. Any questions, Doug? Councillor Hutchison?
Yeah, comment and question. Thank you, Ashley, for working on this. I think it was long overdue. Previous website, we had lots of information, but we really didn't have the graphics, and I really think the graphics add a lot to the website. So I applaud you for your efforts on this. I think it's a great tool. Hopefully it's user-friendly. That's the whole idea. One question I had was one time, I think it was in a previous website when we were revamping, we talked about a portal for complaints, inquiries, and that type of thing. Do we have access, like for people if the question isn't already in there, sort of thing that they can find the answer to, can they ask a question through the website?
Yes, there is a complaint form. So it's on our main page now. Since this is a presentation, I can't really show you, but on our main page, there's a button where you can click on, and it will be a complaint button, and then it will have a drop down of what's your complaint regarding garbage and garbage and recycling, etc. But I'll look into that further and see if there's a reason if you could click other, and then if it was just a generic.
Thank you. And it doesn't just have to be about a complaint. It could also be if you have any other feedback you want to provide, but it is right under the main image of the website. There's a report of concern right prominently there from the homepage of the website.
Anything else from council? Well, again, thank you very much, Ashley, and great work. And now you can return back where you're more comfortable instead of being on the screen, controlling the screens. Thank you, Ms. Noble. We have a second delegation this morning is Judy Semenko on gravel and mining, and welcome this morning, Judy. Yes, the podium is new and whatnot. Another enhancement.
Okay. Good morning, Mayor Eccles and members of council. It's nice to see you all again. I hope you had a restful, enjoyable long weekend. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you again today about aggregate policies in West Grey. I'm grateful for your continued attention to this important matter and appreciate the leadership this council has shown in recognizing the need to address concerns related to gravel mining in our community. We were encouraged by the recent staff report titled Options to Manage Aggregate Extraction in West Grey. It was a thoughtful and responsible document, and we commend the staff for their work. It was especially reassuring to see that staff looked to Caledon for examples of how similar challenges have been addressed, specifically through the use of an interim control bylaw. Caledon offers a valuable precedent. Many elements of gravel mining applications are consistent across municipalities. This means that much of the groundwork, research, methodology, and legal argumentation has already been done. West Grey can benefit from using their consultants for a lower cost peer review of Caledon's approach and adopt it to reflect our municipality's unique priorities, such as environmental stewardship, tourism, and the protection of the Saugeen River, which winds through the heart of our community. The staff report did note the possibility that an ICBL could be appealed and the associated costs. Indeed, Caledon's ICBL was appealed. And since our last delegation, the Ontario Land Tribunal has ruled in that case. The tribunal upheld Caledon's use of the ICBL, reinforcing it as a legitimate planning tool. This sets a precedent that strengthens the case for using an ICBL here in West Grey and minimizes the risk of the cost of an appeal significantly. I'll take a moment to talk about the broader return on investment for the council. What's at stake is not only aggregate policy, but the foundation of how gravel mining is assessed in our municipality. The decisions made today will influence how we manage public health, land use, water resources, tourism, and the integrity of our long-term vision for West Grey. That vision, as stated on West Grey's awesome new website, describes our community as quiet, rural, peaceful, and nestled in nature. This image is what draws tourists, future residents, and investment. It is also what we risk losing without strong, modern, and enforceable policies that reflect our values, protect our assets, particularly the Saugeen River. As you know, West Grey sits on a significant portion of Grey County's aggregate resources, which means that gravel applications could surface virtually anywhere in the municipality. This isn't a localized issue, it is a municipality-wide one. As I mentioned during our last meeting, TAPMO President James Seeley has stated that when an application is incoming, that is the time to use an ICBL. Currently, West Gray has one active zoning application for aggregate extraction and two more applications that have just completed their initial phases. The next step for both of those is a zoning change, meaning they are imminent. Yesterday, I shared with all of council a map illustrating the impact these applications are already having. Hundreds of additional acres in our area are now being marketed or considered for sale based on their aggregate potential. This is a clear sign of speculative development driven by a perceived policy gap. The clergy principle, you are no doubt familiar with it, is a major concern in this context. Without the use of an ICBL, any application submitted before the new aggregate policies are adopted is protected under this grandfathering rule, meaning current policies, however outdated, will apply. This creates a planning vulnerability that could last a year or more as policy development proceeds. This also opens up council to additional costs from appeals by parties impacted by decisions made on outdated and insufficient policy for these zoning changes. The only tool staff have identified to address this window of risk is the interim control bylaw. To be clear, the only way to pause applications and protect municipal interests while policy is updated is the timely implementation of an ICBL. There is an urgency here. Every week that passes without action increases the risk of further applications that may not reflect West Gray's current goals or future vision. I thank council once again for listening to the community, for commissioning the staff report, and for considering the responsible use of planning tools available to you. We hope that you will move forward decisively today with the ICBL as a necessary measure to safeguard West Gray while you develop a strong, forward-thinking aggregate policies our community deserves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judy. Greatly appreciated. Okay. Yes, there is a report coming up on our agenda later later this morning. The fourth, we have a delegation from ATEL on their expansions, and I do see. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I'll let you introduce yourself because not that great with names anymore. Good, sir.
Sorry, good morning. My name is Wayne Eichenberger, and I'm here with Kelsey. Today, we're representing ATEL Communications and wanted to talk about our broadband infrastructure projects. So if you could, do we have the presentation ready to go? No?
Through your miracles, no, unfortunately, the presentation wasn't submitted in time for publishing, so it didn't meet the deadline, and there's no presentation today.
Okay. I'll try and draw pictures with my hands. So good morning, Mayor Eccles, council and staff, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning about ATEL's infrastructure projects. Just a little bit of background. In 2021, the province passed the Broadband Act, and in 2022, the Getting Ontario Connected Act. And subsequently from that, the Accelerated High-Speed Internet Program was born, and $4 billion was committed to bring broadband infrastructure to underserved and unserved communities throughout Ontario. So the province was then broken down into what are known as lots, but geographic areas where broadband infrastructure wasn't available to businesses and residents of those areas. So right after that, that program was announced, a reverse auction was held, and service providers like ATEL would bid on the areas that they wanted to provide service in and build infrastructure to serve those homes. ATEL was successful in obtaining one lot out of that area, and it geographically represents most of Grey County, from Scone over to Holland Center, and north up to Wolseley. It's kind of the geographic region. So we've been busy at that project for just about a year now and made very good progress. The province recognized this good progress, and in January they came to us with an exciting proposal. And it was about mid-January, they asked us if we'd be interested in taking on 2 more lots or geographic regions and continue our project in those areas. And we were successful in obtaining those. So these 2 lots are adjacent to Lot 32. One is mostly in Bruce County. The other is the rest of Grey County. And they awarded those lots to us in January 28, 2025. So just a few months ago. So all in all, that lot represents just under 5,000 homes and 1.3 million meters of construction to bring service to those homes. So our target to complete that project is still 2025. So we got a lot of work ahead of us and a lot of things to do. And there's a significant amount of that area that is in West Grey. So if I had my presentation up here, you'd see a breakdown of all the areas and where the services are, but just refer to that chart if I can find it here. I think West Grey is just about 1,700 residents and 400,000 meters of construction. So just it's a significant portion of the Lot 76, which is an expansion of our current project. So the reason we're here today is part of just to bring awareness to the project. Infrastructure Ontario really wants service providers like us to get involved with the municipalities to bring awareness and to the residents of the area. So that's part of the program. We're looking for, as we go through the process, looking for the smooth municipal consent process. We've got a lot of construction that needs to happen, and we want to make sure that we're engaged, and we have been with the West Grey staff to understand where we're going, what type of work it's going to mean, and get that buy-in early on. We of course want to adhere to all the safe excavation standards. The project is all underground infrastructure. We don't intend to use any aerial infrastructure or wireless, if at all possible. The focus here is underground broadband infrastructure. We want to make sure that we're aligned with any municipal asset plans. So if there's municipal construction projects, road reconstruction that is happening this year, that we're aware of what's going on and can integrate our project with any of those pre-planned projects. We have the Ministry of the Infrastructure backing, and we have a technical assistance team with that ASHIP project that's ready to help us if there's any concerns. They're fully engaged in the project and supporting it. So our engagement strategy again includes working with municipalities, conservation authorities who we've already contacted, bringing awareness to residents and businesses throughout the area, working with the county, the MTO, and all the locate service providers. You see a little army of people out there with orange paint on the ground over the next few months getting ready for this project. And then of course our contractors. ATEL subcontracts all of the construction work that will happen with this project. And we've got a few local contracting companies like Weber Contracting, TW Johnston, Extreme Directional Drilling, ACON and Telecon, to name a few. Again, if I had my presentation here, you'd see a real eye chart about our internal compliance program. It's designed to audit the work that the contractors are doing to ensure that they're adhering to safe practices, making sure that they're adhering to the defined running line that's been provided to us from the municipality, and that everything is installed at the correct depth and all the cleanup is done as per our requirements, and to make sure that homeowners and businesses are satisfied with the work that's been happening out in the field. So next steps, really it's the construction process, getting the approvals for the work to happen, and getting homes connected ultimately is the goal. There's a large number of homes throughout the province of Ontario and in our assigned projects that are just waiting for broadband connectivity, and we're really happy to bring that to them. I left a couple of minutes for questions, and anything that you see on the maps that I didn't show that that you might want to talk about, but really just to appreciate the time to talk about our project and see if there's any questions that you might have. Kelsey's here to answer the hard questions.
I'm only going to take questions from council members, not from the audience at this point in time. The main focus in West Grey, right now, see a lot of work being done in the town of Durham, but this next phase, my understanding is mostly in Normanby Township.
Yes, a good portion of Normanby. So it'll push right down to Drew and over to Mount Forest and then north from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a significant portion of West Grey.
Right. Okay, Doug, Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I think it's great that we're getting the opportunity to connect to high speed through fiber. One of the things that complaints that I do here is the lack of completion of the job, I guess, by ATEL. And I have people, I think it's very important that you provide your customers with the best service you can give them. And so people, after you've done your digging, there are people that have holes in their lawn and boxes over the winter time. And I realize some of the projects have just begun, but you do get some settling over the winter time. But they need to be repaired. And I know that some people are frustrated when trying to connect with ATEL. So I think that's something that you need to consider very importantly, that for your customers, that there needs to be a finished up, clean up job done. And now you're a provider. So I just wanted to mention that to you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good feedback. And we want to receive those comments, questions, and if anybody has an issue, make sure you contact us. Access to screen topsoil, not an excuse. Access to screen topsoil this time of year has been challenging with the long winter and the wet spring, but we're getting to it. If there's anything that we need to do, make sure we know about it.
Go ahead, Councillor Townsend. Doug?
Thank you. It said in the rural, and you're going to be in Normanby, you're putting in fiber optic cable. Like I would say the majority of us, at least the ones on my road that I know, are all fixed wireless. Where that's been the only thing available to us for a number of years. So you folks are planning on cabling and.
That's correct. Yeah, the project is 100% direct fiber to the home, fiber to the premise, unless there's no reasonable way to get fiber to a particular location. That is our objective. The province is really in support of that as well. As they came to us with these additional lots, lots 75 and 76 were originally awarded as a combination wired wireless project. They've changed their focus. They've increased the available funding to ensure that it all is wired.
All right. Councillor Forrester. Scott? Another member from Normanby.
My question's not Normanby related though. I sit on the Elmwood Community Center board, and we have problems getting internet there. And I heard you mention about part of your contract was in Bruce County. So I was wondering, is there a chance that broadband will be brought to the Elmwood Community Center?
I'm trying to remember my map. I believe that's outside of our project, but I can check on that, and I'm sure your email address is online, and I can get a message directly to you after we get back to the office and are able to look that up. Okay.
Okay. And Jamie's little clock says we're only a minute over time. So no, very exciting to have ATEL, quite frankly, kind of a local company moving forward with this project, and look forward not only to working with you, as the municipality, but the completion of it and the connectivity for all of our residents that we can get connected. So excellent work. Thank you very much. And thanks for the update. Always nice to keep abreast of what is going on out there, being able to answer a few questions. Who's digging on the side of the road? So, great. Thanks very much, Wayne.
Thank you.
Okay. Public meetings. I don't believe we have any public meetings today. Comment period. We have 10 minutes on our agenda for anyone that would like to make a comment on anything that is on the agenda today. So I'm going to look, do we have anybody online, Ashley? Well, we'll start there then. Ms. Noble, who have we got?
Hello, good morning, Council and members of the audience. My name is Nikki May. I live here in Glenelg, and I do thank you for this opportunity to speak this morning. I'm speaking in regards to Judy Schmelko's delegation. I do support the Saugeen Preservation Society and their work to protect the Saugeen River and its associated floodplains. These natural assets are crucial parts of the ecosystem that keeps our community healthy and prosperous. They are parts of a hydrological system that cleanses and stores water for our use. They and other parts of this ecosystem provide us with clean air, healthy soils, and protection from flooding and extreme heat, among many other free services. Given that natural areas like these are critical to human health and prosperity, I urge Council to take a stand against Bill 5, which, if enacted, will weaken the laws and regulations that protect these and other critical natural areas. Not only that, Schedule 9 of Bill 5 will make it possible for government-approved proponents to ignore municipal planning bylaws, which are designed to protect human health and safety. Other clauses in Bill 5 make it impossible for members of the public to comment or to have recourse from government if the weakening of these protections causes harm. Again, I thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. May. Anyone else? Anyone else online? Ashley? No? Anyone in the audience? No? Okay, we'll move on then to number 7 on our agenda, the adoption of minutes. We've got one set of minutes. The minutes of the regular council meeting from May 6th. Do I have a mover and a seconder to accept those? Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Noon. Thank you, Joyce. Tom? Any errors or omissions? Councillor Hutchison, Doug? Minutes?
Just basically a typo in the under the comment period. I believe one of the residents was it not Art Rivest, and it says Art Raybest. Was okay, right? All right. I just wanted to make sure that we had the right person there. So, okay, I think that was the only thing I had.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, make mention that Rivest, not RA, however it is. Yeah, that'll be made.
Yeah.
I don't think we need an amendment for that. Anything else? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. To receive committee and board reports, we have 2. Both of them from county, from the county of Grey. Special county meeting, joint all councils on strong mayor powers, 8.1, 8.2, the highlights of the Grey County Council meeting, May 8th. Do we have a mover and a seconder to receive those? Moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Thanks, Doug. Scott? And any questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor of receiving those? Any opposed? That's carried. Correspondence, number 9. There is one there that needs our response. Correspondence from AMO on the 2025 AMO conference, and we're looking for delegation requests. Not sure that staff was going to suggest any. Is there anyone that has any suggestions? We should maybe reach out to any of the provincial ministries that may be present and see if we can get 15 minutes of their precious time. Councillor Hutchison, Deputy Mayor Hutchison.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Mayor
Tom.
Eccles. That's fine, sir.
Yep.
Again, I know we've been there several times, but I think keeping the pedal in the metal on infrastructure issues is always top priority, and hopefully they get tired of us and they just open up their wallet. But I think the awareness, though, because we do have a tremendous amount of pressure, and I think we found out some additional information since the last time with our bridge studies. So significant numbers there that we could refresh in front of them. So that would be the one I would certainly like to see. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else? Councillor Hutchison.
Well, in our correspondence, they make reference to a couple of bills, Bill 17 and Bill 5. And I'm not sure, obviously, we're going to have some discussion on this, but whether it's worthwhile having a delegation to discuss some of our concerns. I'm not sure. I'll just throw that out there because we haven't really had a fulsome discussion yet, but maybe something will come out of that. Sure.
And I'm thinking that both of those would be municipal affairs, kind of around that, municipal affairs and housing. So we can always put a placer in for it. We can make
Yes.
the request and
Just leave it open and maybe we'll get an
closer
opportunity.
to the time whether we've got some clarity on it and whatnot. So maybe Minister Flack. And Councillor Townsend.
Thank you. I was wondering about the Minister of Health. Do we keep,
Thought somebody was going to come up with that one.
do we,
Absolutely. I think they'd be very supportive.
got to keep that in front of them? Yeah.
Maybe this time Minister Jones will actually meet with us and it won't be the staff. Okay, all right. And whom has registered for AMO? It is in Ottawa this year, Scott and Joyce. You're going through the county and I've registered as well too through the county. Okay. So we will have good representation there. All right. So that was the one correspondence. Is that good enough? I can see you continued writing on the magic book over there, Madam CEO. And the rest of the correspondence was to receive? Yes, okay, sorry. Jamie, you've got something there. Request for delegations. Go ahead and read it out what you have prepared.
It's through Mayor Eccles. Yes, essentially it's in consideration of these correspondence, council directs staff to submit delegation requests on infrastructure funding with the Minister of Infrastructure on Bill 17 and Bill 5 with the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and on rural health care with the Ministry of Health.
Okay, have that by. Do we have anybody that wants to move that motion? Moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Further questions, comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Good. The rest of the correspondence is there. Is there any one that we'd like pulled to have conversation on? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss number 1 and 2. and possibly support number 2.
Okay. So we will do that now. Number 1. Go ahead, Doug.
Okay, so number 1, from our Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, there's a lot of statements around this Bill 17, and they're also in this, they're asking for comments from public and staff, I guess, and so on. But I just want to question some of the things that are in here and maybe get a response from staff in terms of what they're thinking and whether we're responding. So the first part having to do the building code, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, talks about Schedule 1. They're adding a provision to clarify that municipalities do not have the authority to create or enforce their own construction standards. So I'm really curious what that is really saying to us, that we do not have the authority to enforce our own construction standards. To me, that boggles my mind that we wouldn't have the authority. Anyways, I'll ask the director to maybe respond to that.
That would be you, Carl. Yeah.
Thank you,
Trying to
through you, Mayor. Yes, thanks for the question. So it's always been sort of the interpretation of the municipalities and through some applicable law and some case law. The municipalities can't say, for example, if the building code requires R60 insulation in the roof, the municipality can't say, well, we want R80 in the roof. That the municipality doesn't have the authority to override the requirements of the building code, or increase the requirements of the building code. That has come into question in the last couple of years in regards to municipalities bringing in things like green development standards, requirements for, saying that all houses should have things like heat pumps, rather than just meeting the minimum energy efficiency requirements in the code, specifying that you can't put a gas furnace in, it has to be a heat pump, those types of things. So that it is fairly new. We've only received that bill, the information there in the last week or so. We have had some discussion on it, but I believe that's sort of where the province is trying to, reinforce that municipalities can't bring in their own additional requirements overriding the building code.
Go ahead, Doug.
Okay, so I presume, sounds like there's going to be further discussion on this and whatnot. To me, it just, again, it's another typical thing where they're saying, they're taking the control away from the local municipalities and it's the government controlling that. So my other question, thinking of that, is the example would be the electric chargers that they at one time mandated that would be in new builds, and now they took that away. And so I guess that would be the same type of thing where you couldn't say all new houses would have to have electric chargers in their house.
Yes, that's out correct. So the municipality couldn't require every new house built to have an electrical.
Okay, I'll leave that one. I still think there's a lot of room for input there and hopefully some guidance. Moving down in this bill, on this document under development charges. About halfway down, it talks about, this is one of the bullets, it talks about removing authority for municipalities to charge interest on any legislated development charge deferral amounts. And maybe I'll read one more and then maybe ask the director our finance director to comment. Enabling municipalities to make any change to the DC bylaws for the sole purpose of reducing development charges or removing indexing without undertaking certain procedural requirements. So my thoughts are, I know there's a lot of talk about development charges and I think the government would like to get rid of them. Problem is they're not giving us any money to replace them. So maybe a comment from our director on those two things about, is that a problem? What's that?
Through you, Mayor, the interest charges that would only be on the deferrals, that you wouldn't be able to charge interest under the this new provision. As far as the reduction, it's giving you flexibility to reduce your development charge should you choose to, but you would still need to go through the DC studies if you wanted to increase
your development charges study. So it's giving you flexibility to go lower, but without having to incur costs for the DC study. But if you want to increase your DC rate, you would still be required to do the study.
So further down there it says, we are interested in receiving your comments on these proposed measures. So I just think from what I read, and we hear different talk out there, that I think the government really is wanting to get rid of development charges. It has to do with this whole idea of trying to build faster, build more. And so what they're doing is making it like trying to make it simpler for people who want to build, that they're getting rid of some of these charges. But the thing that they don't understand is development charges help us to cover the cost of our infrastructure, right? So that's fine. They can take away development charges, but where's the money on the other end to help us cover those costs? And that's the part that seems to be missing, is that they want us to lower things so we can build bigger and faster and so on. But they're forgetting that we need money to cover some of our costs. So I'm not sure if the staff is planning on commenting on any of this bill, but I'm hoping that's in the works. Maybe our CEO can maybe comment on that.
Thank you. Through the Mayor to Council. This just came out last week, so we will be meeting as staff to look at it. I've also had discussions with Grey County as well to look at what other municipalities within Grey County are looking at, as well as what the counties take on this, because we certainly know that a collective voice is often better than an individual voice. So we are on it. It's a priority of ours, and we will be discussing it further.
May I just say, I think comments are up until June the 11th on this. So I think with a little further investigation and whatnot, we have a meeting on June 6th. I think it is, correct? Jamie, thank you. So we have a bit of time to get our head wrapped around, and as Madam CEO said, yeah, trying to figure out where the direction or what direction the province is trying to push, whether we want to go further to the cliff or not, and how we can maybe avoid that. So staff will maybe get something together, and we'll have something back on June 6th. Sorry, June 3rd. Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. So under the Ministry of Municipal Affairs Planning Act, they talk about removing minor variants and so on. So there's a lot of things in there. I'll leave it to the staff to look into it and look forward to further discussion. There's a section there about Ministry of Infrastructure, about helping to support infrastructures, but show us the money is what I'm saying. And then just at the bottom, it says, in the face of economic uncertainty, we must protect Ontario by speeding up construction so it can lower housing costs and keep workers on the job. And they look forward to continuing collaboration with municipal partners. Well, to me, so far, there hasn't been a lot of collaboration. It's sort of like, this is what it is. And let's get rid of some of these rules and regulations. But they're missing some important points, I think. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
I could offer a comment. It's interesting that build houses faster and whatnot, but in the construction industry and whatnot, one thing I've heard, yes, we can do it faster. This way they're saying we could do it faster and make it cheaper. But anytime you talk to construction guys, they say, well, we can do it faster, but it's going to cost you a bit more. A little bit of an oxymoron the way they're proposing this going forward here. Okay. All right. So that was on number 1 and 2.
Number 2 has to do, it's from Chatham Kent, and they're asking to support their resolution. Has to do with the idea that there's a landfill, and it sounds like a previous landfill that the government wants to bypass. They want to remove the obligation for a full environmental assessment for a new landfill and recycling facility. And Chatham Kent's not very happy about that, because they say it's called Bill 5. Is the other that's what it's under. Is that it sets a precedent by saying, okay, we're going to come in and we're going to take over your landfill, we're going to expand your landfill, and you don't need to do an environmental assessment, and here we go. So I just think that it's important to support that one, because it does seem like the government again is sort of pushing their will on terms of where and what we do in our municipalities. I'll leave it at that.
So I agree with you that it's province. The province does environmentally, they look after most of, approve those sites. Having it, yeah, I'm still not 100% after reading that article and haven't been able to find. Is Dresden in Chatham-Kent? From my understanding, Dresden's on the other side in Lambton, but it doesn't matter. It is a difficulty with Chatham-Kent. Are you putting a motion forward to support and send a letter of support to Chatham-Kent for this? Yeah. Okay. So I think we have that motion to support that, Jamie. Councillor Hutchison would move that. We have a seconder. Deputy Mayor Hutchison to second that motion to support Chatham-Kent and their request for province to opposing the approach and be a little more environmentally conscious when it comes to landfills. Okay. Any other questions or comments on that motion to support? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. So that leaves 2 to receive. Or just 1? Or 2, because the first one we didn't do anything. We pulled it, but I think it's just to receive. There's no action being taken. So there is the 2, number 1 and number 3 in the correspondence package to receive. I have a motion to receive those. Thank you, Scott. And Doug. Thank you, Councillor Townsend, Councillor Forrester. To receive the remaining 2 correspondence for information. No further questions. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. Brings us down to staff reports. And the first one, 10.1.1, is space lease for the early on program at the Durham Community Center. And Mike, you're with us. Oh, this is a first time presentation from you too. Oh. First for everything today.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Hopefully this is a pretty simple one as my maiden voyage here. This staff report is regarding the extension of the early on programming at the boardroom in the Durham Arena. Since initiating this program, Early On has supported 572 children through 10 unique programs, including literacy programs, fitness activities, and baby playgroups. Their offerings provide vital, no-cost, early learning and caregiver support to families with children aged 0 to 6, 4 days a week. The use of the boardroom has allowed for consistent, accessible delivery of these services in a central community-based location, and it is recommended that the lease be extended to December 2026 to align with the current term of council, ensuring program continuity while maintaining a monthly rental revenue of $425 a month.
Good, short, quick. Any comments? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, thank you for the report. I think it's great that it's another use of our facility. I think anytime we can get some renters into our facilities is great. I do have a couple questions about the situation there is, first of all, do their hours coincide with the staff hours, or how does that line up?
Through you, Mayor. They currently do. I mean, our set hours are we don't have defined set hours, so we obviously work around, but they are regular hours that they operate at the facility.
So if staff isn't there, like, do they have access? Do they have a key that they can access the arena if the staff isn't there? And my other question, I'll just throw it out now and then you can respond together, is do they have their own insurance?
So staff is always there when they are when they are in the facility, and they provide insurance.
Anyone else on this? Councillor Noon, Joyce?
Thank you. I noticed in the report from the County of Grey, they're implementing a new place for early on in the town of Hanover, and I'm wondering what the difference, like, would that take away from funding or that they would get to house them in the Durham facility, like down the road? Like, I don't know why the county supports it, you know, a new building in one area and rental space in another. I was just kind of wondering the differential between the two.
Through you, Mayor. So my understanding is that their intent is to have multiple facilities within multiple communities. The organizer of the Early On has been eager to extend this contract, so I can look further into the developments of the new facility, but my understanding is that the intent is to capture this programming for different communities.
And my understanding from the county perspective is that the building in Hanover has, one, become outdated, and two, there is accessibility issues with that building. So the program, after numerous thoughts of what to do and whatnot, with the sale of the old building and the cost effectiveness was that it was they could build a new building to house them and whatnot and be somewhat revenue neutral. That's to be determined. I'm not going to say that it will be, but that's where it was. It was a couple of the questions that was asked at the county as well too on that choice. Further.
So the funding then would be through the County of Grey taxation, like that. We would support it through the County of Grey.
Yes, there'd be a little bit of that, and as I said, but most of it would be just from the sale of the building and the land going forward. Yep.
But even with the rental in Durham, we again, through the, I don't know what group that would be through, like, would we also be helping to fund that rental charge in Durham, like the tax dollar? Just wanted to know if there's kind of some
Yeah.
balance here with how it's all administered through different areas.
Yep. Maybe the CEO's got a better answer.
Thank you. Through the mayor to council, this goes a bit beyond the scope of what we're thinking here, but my understanding is each Early On is governed by its own not-for-profit board of directors. So they are self-funding. I don't think at this point, and I could stand to be corrected and I can research, I don't believe we are directly through our tax levy in any way supporting the Early On.
And there's some, if I'm not mistaken, there is some provincial dollars, and the only reason that the county's involved in it is those provincial dollars flow through for the nonprofit childcare. Okay. Anything else? Moved and seconded? Nope. Okay. Mike's report. There's a recommendation in there. Do I have anybody that want to move that? Moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. Thank you, Mike. And I was remiss on not introducing Mike as our new titles, recreation facilities guru, manager, yeah.
Manager of Parks and Rec, and thank you for introducing me.
Thank you, Mike. It's great to have you aboard. Mike's been with us about a month now, a little over a month. Oh, it's been 2 months. Time flies when you're having fun, right? Okay, thank you. Manager of Planning and Development. 10.2. Are you doing this one? No? No? Okay. Is David with us? You know, while you're gonna go and find David, why don't we take a 5-minute break? We've been here for more than an hour, so we'll take a 5-minute recess, please. We'll be back shortly. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Thank you. And we're down to 10.2. 10.2.1 is the zoning amendment 21.2023, PA 13. And our planner, Mr. Smith. David, you're joining us. Your report. Any highlights in here?
Morning, Mr. Mayor, Council, file ZA 21/2023 and West Gray official plan amendment 13 for Kahani, Georgian Planning as the planning consultant for the file. Ashley, if I ask you to go to page 78 in the PDF online, please. Thank you. Shown in the council chambers and online is Schedule A to the West Gray official plan amendment number 13 for the property. The property we're talking about is referred to as the Kahani subdivision in relationship to the municipal council chambers. The West Gray administrative office is immediately east of us on the south side of Gray Road 4. As I mentioned, shown here on this map is the proposed West Gray official plan amendment designations, showing in the yellow the residential area, the dark green and greens being environmental protection or hazard, and a little bit of parkland proposed. Can we go to page 80, please? And we'll scroll down just a bit, please. Shown on the screen in the council chambers and online is the proposed zoning bylaw amendment for Kahani for ZA 21/2023. It matches up in many respects with the official plan amendment designations, the white areas being the areas for residential, with both high density and low density residential, the greenish blues being the environmental protection and the parkland areas. And we're going to go down one more page, Ashley, to page 81. Shown on the screen is the draft plan of subdivision itself, showing the proposed lotting arrangement with a new roadway coming off of Grade Road 4, moving to the north with an interior cul-de-sac and a crescent, lots along the outside, pretty much single family detached, and the lots in the orangish red being townhouse development. Proposed green is the parkland for this particular development. The remainder of the white areas being environmental protection and outside of the lands being developed. There is a one proposed link to the north in terms of potential future development of the town of Durham north of the Kahani subdivision. As I mentioned, the development is referred to as Kahani subdivision. Amendment number 13 to the West Gray official plan would designate the property residential open space and modify the environmental protection designation to permit the construction of the subdivision. The zoning bylaw amendment will rezone the property to a mixture of R2 541 medium density residential exception, R3 542 high density residential exception, OS open space for the parkland, and modifying the natural environment zones for the subdivision. We don't have a municipal address yet on this particular property. It's just a single assessment number. Public meeting was held on Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. Multiple comments were received from abutting property owners at that time. The development will be able to connect to municipal water, municipal sewer, and be provided with adequate storm water. As I mentioned, a new street A, B, and C, and shown on the screen, will be constructed to a standard urban cross-section with internal sidewalks. A future road connection to the north has been incorporated into the street design. County of Gray, which is the jurisdiction over Gray Road 4, will require improvements, in particular turning lanes onto Gray Road 4 for the Kahani subdivision. Parkland is to be taken by West Gray as a combination of parquet, and cash and move. The majority will be coming in as that green area on the map shown on screen here. The Kahani subdivision will not be constructed unless the Rosate subdivision, Gray County File 42T 2023-02 that was recently heard by West Gray Council, which is located across Gray Road to the south, is constructed, as the municipal sewer and the municipal stormwater services are to be connected through Rosate. The two of them are connected at the hip. One can't happen necessarily without the other. Sorry, this one cannot happen without the Rosate subdivision. The Rosate subdivision can pretty much move forward without this one, although there are some cost considerations between the two of them. As I mentioned, the public meeting was held on September 19th, 2023. There's a link to it in your planning report online. In terms of agency circulation, we circulated to West Gray Public Works and Building with no concerns. Gray County Planning has suggested a future road connection to the west, which is not included on this particular draft. And also we place a holding symbol on the development to ensure that the proceeds in relationship to a subdivision agreement. Gray County Transportation, road widening is required, and traffic management and with the road widening and traffic lanes are to be included. And that's all to be addressed via the Gray County draft plan of subdivision approval process and agreements between the developer and the County of Gray. Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority has reviewed all of the application, and in terms of the environmental protection, the stormwater, and overall, they have no concerns. This has been ongoing for multiple years. The issues regarding stormwater, issues regarding water flow hazard have all been discussed and ironed out over that period of time. As I mentioned, a public meeting was held Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. Comments in the meeting include concerns about pumping stations, where it will be located. Will the townhouses in the subdivision be comparable to the ones in Rosate? Concerns regarding the deterioration of an existing dam on the property and what happens if the dam washes out. Suggestions for approved dark sky lighting, and that there is only one road into the development, and safety concerns with emergency access. As I mentioned, the subdivision will be linked to a sewage pumping station proposed to be constructed in the Rosate subdivision. That is part of the two of them linked together, and as part of the ongoing discussions that will have to happen between two developers in terms of cost sharing. Both developments are proposed for two-story townhouses with a variety of floor plans, although there are a different number of bedrooms and bathrooms on one side. Yeah, there'll be townhouses. Will it be the same? No, they're two different developers, two different construction companies and all the rest of it. So there will be townhouses. An environmental impact study was prepared, didn't note the deterioration of a dam wall that is on the property. That particular piece of the property may be coming to West Gray as just land. That part of our discussions with the county in terms of conditions, we'll take a look at the condition of the dam and whether or not it comes over. When I talk about a dam, we're talking about a small head wall, probably about 3 or 4 feet, 5 feet in height. Okay, in terms of a dam, it does hold back some water. That kind of structure, even coming to the municipality of West Gray, does have some potential long-term cost considerations, and therefore we'd be looking to see if we can have it removed if the property were to come to us. If the dam is removed, it may have some impact on fish habitat, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all wrapped up in terms of removal that way. Overall, it's not a major issue in terms of it being in place. Our West Gray development standards do require municipal streetlights to be dark sky friendly. And emergency access will be determined through the subdivision agreement process. Because of the number of units on the subdivision, it does need to have a emergency access, what it looks like, how it works, and all the rest of it. We haven't had discussions with the county over that, and as a condition of draft approval with the county on it has been ongoing. In this particular piece of property, it includes portions of Close Street, John, Hunter, Jackson, Park Street, and George. West Gray recently completed the sale of the unopened portions of those streets to the developer. And overall, we're looking at about 28.9 acres in total area, which is about 11.7 hectares. Of the 11.7 hectares, 7.3 hectares is part of the development overall. We have 67 single detached units, approximately 65 street townhouses, the parkland and the natural environment and an internal roadway overall. There were a number of studies that were submitted back in 2023 and updated over that period of time and reviewed, and they've been referenced in the planning report overall. Review the application requirements regarding, excuse me, review the application versus requirements of the Planning Act, in particular Section 5124 of the Act, and find that it does meet the requirements of the Act. Review the application versus the various policy sections of the Provincial Policy Statement 2024. And I am of the opinion it does meet the requirements of the PPS. Review the application, or two applications versus the County of Grey official plan. The application and the property is designated as primary settlement area and hazard, and the West Grey official plan amendment 13 will modify those slightly, actually not slightly, in a fair amount in accordance with the various studies proposed. The West Grey official plan amendment 13 would need to be approved by the West Grey Council, which is what for in front of you today. And then that official plan amendment is submitted to the County of Grey for final approval. Overall, we find that both the application for the West Grey official plan amendment and the ZA bylaw do meet the requirements of the County of Grey official plan and do meet the overall intent and purpose of the West Grey official plan. Review the application in regards to the current zoning bylaw. As I mentioned, we're proposing a number of two different zoning sections on the property, one for the street townhouses, one for the single detached. The specials exceptions on the property do allow for additional residential units, which is a requirement of the province at this particular time in order to allow additional housing within a structure or in a accessory structure outside of the building. So the new zonings do allow for that. We reviewed the municipal water supply and sewage disposal. As I mentioned, this is tied to the Rosé subdivision. There'll be a sewage pumping station constructed to the south side of Grey Road 4 at some point in time. Cost sharing and so on and so forth is an issue that would have to be worked out between the developers. Although West Grey staff will help move that through that process. It is not our cost, it is the developer's cost. In terms of stormwater, also again, a stormwater management pond will be on the south side. That is to be built as part of the Rosé subdivision. But again, the size of the stormwater pond and the overall management is designed for two subdivisions. And again, costing is to be determined between the two subdivision two subdivision developers. We do have lock rating plans. We do have street connections. As I mentioned, the County of Grey did request a street connection to the west, which would be joining onto the property behind us. Our recommendation is that that street connection not be included in the subdivision. And the reasons why is that the amount of land that's behind us is actually relatively large. It will only have access then through the Kahani subdivision. That is far too much land and development to be pushed through that development overall. If the land behind us is ever to be brought into the Durham settlement area, and that's a big if, okay, it should be looking at alternative access points out onto Grey Road 4. And even that's not easy because between the cemetery beside us, this property and the house, there's not a heck of a lot left in order to bring a roadway through. At the same time, putting all of that potential land through the Kahani subdivision is far too much traffic for that subdivision to handle. So at the moment, we see the potentiality, and this will be something to discuss with West Grey Council, the future date that for Durham to grow to the north as opposed to coming to the west in this particular case. The land behind us actually is all joined to the old Interforest property, and it continues to go westwards as opposed to coming back down to the highway. It is not an easy discussion in this particular case, including a road access to the west would require two lots to be taken out of the subdivision and reserved for a big question mark. So again, we see at this particular time that this is probably not a good option for them. We do encourage lock connections that way, but here, it's my opinion, it's not exactly the greatest idea overall. As I mentioned, we are taking parkland in this particular case, a parkette. The reason we're taking parkland as opposed to cash in lieu is because of the separation of this subdivision by a fairly major roadway, lack of parkland in the area to have easy access to. So providing a parkette in this particular location is good for being isolated onto the north side of Grey Road 4. The subdivision itself, the entrance onto Gray Road 4 will be immediately opposite that of Rose 8, and there will be sidewalks into Rose 8 itself, but there will be no sidewalks on Gray Road 4. It will be just a continuation on at the moment of the paved shoulders, and therefore we see any pedestrian access into town going down through the Rose 8 subdivision and then back over by the hospital and back into town that way, as opposed to using Gray Road 4 as its main pedestrian access. Don't get me wrong, there are paved shoulders there. People will be able to walk on them, but we're not proposing any sidewalks with the County of Gray on that portion of highway at this particular time. We have been discussing the conditions of draft approval with both the developer and with the County of Gray, and those will be forthcoming from the county after the approval of the official plan amendment and the zoning bylaw. Overall, we do find that the application of West Gray official plan amendment 13, excuse me, and today 2021, 2023 does have regard for the provincial planning statement, conforms to the provincial planning act, and thus conforms with the County of Gray official plan and the West Gray official plan. We recommend the council consider the passage of the bylaws as recommended in the report. Thank you.
Very detailed. Thank you, David. Any questions, comments on this? Councillor Hutchison, Doug?
Thank you, David, for that. I'm just curious, a lot of this hinges on the development and moving forward on the Rose 8 subdivision. And I'm sort of curious, do we have any idea how far along they are? Because it seems like these guys are doing a lot of work getting ready to go, but they're sitting there spinning because the development across the road hasn't gone anywhere. So are we looking at the near future in terms of Rose 8, or any ideas on what we're looking at in terms of timeline?
No, we've just actually finished Rose 8 this year, honestly, too. We've sent out draft, subdivision agreement. I would say that a lot of the development we're seeing at the moment is hung up in money, interest rates, uncertainty in markets, the costing of these two subdivisions, and in particular on the high side because of these service extensions that they have to build. So when you sit back and figure out, does it pay in the longer term, we leave that up to developers to decide. When they first came forward, I think there was certainly our building permits on single detached were certainly far higher than they are now. So I think people are running their numbers in that particular sense. So unfortunately, the Kahani one can't go forward without Rose 8. This is the way that the sewer system has to run pretty much. There might be some other alternatives, but they're not probably pretty in some respects. Same thing with stormwater. There's no room for stormwater on the Kahani side. It's got to come to the south. So yeah, the two of them are tied together that way.
Okay. Any other questions? Scott, Councillor Forrester.
The natural heritage floodplain areas, who's going to own those?
So the lands that are left over, if I can use that way, the natural environment and so on and so forth, belong to Kahani. We don't require them to be transferred. The only lands we require to be transferred is the Parquet. After that, it's up to the developer to determine what they wish to do with them. They're going to be zoned for natural environment, and that's it. In many cases, we do see a proposal to transfer them, but there's not a legal requirement to do so. But they're zoned in. There will be tax owing on them. Maybe not a lot, again, considering their zoning. So we leave it up to them. There's no way to force whatever it is, but again, in a lot of cases, we do see them come across as just being the simplest for the developer to get out of an area, I guess you could say.
Anything else? Any other questions before we move to the motion? So there is a recommendation, and frankly, it's to bring the bylaw forward, adopt the amendments, and as I said, bring the bylaw forward. If anybody that would like to move the recommendation, Councillor Townsend and Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Thank you. Any further comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Very good. Thank you, David. And with that, we go down to 10.3.1. Welcome this morning, Jeff. Director Akins is here, and obviously the South Street construction contract you have for us. How much under budget is it that you've got?
We're actually hoping by the time you factor in contract admin and contingency, we can bring it in on budget. And we'd actually view that as a win.
Okay. The report is there. Any other 10.3.1, anything else you want to mention on that, Jeff? Pretty straightforward.
The scope of work for this year will be Garifraxis Street to Countess Street, including Garifraxis. So upon authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign this, we will work on the public communication for the project, including what any detours will look like.
Okay, excellent. Any questions on the report? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, so I presume that residents in that area would be notified and some complications through construction. Is that the case?
Yes, it is our intent to do some version of a public open house before construction. And given the small number of residents, we'll be handing out a notice door to door to advise them of the project and contact information.
I think I did read somewhere that there will be sidewalks on this new extension. Is that correct? Right down to South Street, or right to the dam area, sort of thing?
The scope of the project includes a full urban profile, which does include sidewalks on one side of the road.
Just it's interesting that the project has a cost and then it has taxes. And I just wanted to ask our director, do we get the HST back on these projects?
So in the report, we've noted net HST, which is the component of the tax that we do not receive the rebate on. I think Carrie can provide further comment if you wish, but that's what will be what we anticipate being out of pocket.
Yeah, well, just a comment. So my comment is, here we are, government pushing to do development and do all these wonderful things, and then they turn around and they tax us on our projects. To me, that doesn't make sense. Why not give us a break on taxes at least to help with the funding, of the project? But anyways, it just seems crazy to my concern.
Yeah, for this type of project, we get 86.461% of the HST back. So what we're paying is just below 2%.
But it's not all of it, is it? It still costs us, right? Okay. Anything else on that? So there is a recommendation there to accept the tenders. And of course, this, not as much this portion, but the next portion, there's a lot more of a in it with the county, and it has a lot to do with the stormwater management from Rockwood Terrace and further upstream, I guess, on South Street as we head east, that this project is in requirement. Jeff?
That is correct. It does provide Rockwood Terrace an outlet that otherwise they would not have.
Yep. Size to take all of that up there. And I believe, if I'm reading it right, size, there could be some other development in that area that it's sized to that as well too, not just for Rockwood.
That is the intent, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Future. Moving on, Tom?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. So the recommendation is in there to start the South Street construction. And that's moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hutchison. Okay. Any further questions or comments on the motion to accept this? Then we'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. That brings us down to 10.4, 10.4.1. And Development Services, Carl, this one is yours. Take it away.
Thank you, sir. Through you, Mayor. So this report requested, council request we bring a motion or bring a report forward in regards to options for managing aggregate extraction in West Grey. So I sort of broke my report down into what is available for council if they wish to develop policies in West Grey in regards to aggregate extraction. And then I provided how we will options to implement those policies. And then there's the option, if council chooses to implement an interim control bylaw that would restrict or reduce application or not allow new applications for aggregate extraction until those new policies are in place, or 2 years would be the maximum time frame permitted. So basically the implementation, regardless of whether you choose to do an intercontrol bylaw or not, there's the implementation of the policies. So my recommendation is that we would hire an outside consultant to do the required review the existing legislation, have consultation with council and staff, consultation with public, review, like I said, review the existing policies, and then choose whether, and then provide a report back to council on what they recommend for a new policy. Now, ultimately, it'd be up to council whether they choose to adopt those new policies or not, but the recommendation would come from an outside consultant on how to, or what they recommend the new policies would be. Ultimately, they may come back after their review to determine that the county's policies that exist today are adequate and they don't need to be revised, or they may provide additional requirements. I can't speak to what they would find. I don't know that. So currently the policies are, my second stage there is how we implement those policies. Current policies are implemented through the county official plan. The county does their review approximately every 5 years of their official plan. The last time it was reviewed, they didn't make any additions or amendments to their current aggregate policies, but it was reviewed and determined at that time that they did meet all the required provincial legislation. And I did speak to the director of planning at the county, and he confirmed that. So again, it's up to council whether they choose to bring in an official plan, either full official plan here in West Grey that would cover all options that could be implemented to an official plan, similar to what the Grey County's official plan is. They could bring an official plan that speaks to West Grey aggregate policies only, or they could submit their request to amend any policies through the county. There's multiple options. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions from council members through the process or how they want to implement these. And ultimately, I spoke here on the report about costs and how those costs would be required. There is no current funding in the 2025 budget for any review of the policy. So it'll be up to council to determine if they wanted to do it this year, which if they're choosing to impose the interim control bylaw would have to be done starting immediately because there is a time limit on the interim control bylaw, so the policies would have to be developed and implemented prior to that 2-year timeline. So there's 1 year available. Or the original bylaw would be for 1 year, and then there's the option for the 2nd year extension. So I did provide the interim control bylaw has its benefits and its negatives. I provided them in the report for council to review. Again, the interim control bylaw can be specific to a certain area. It can be specific to a certain use. In this case, if we're looking at it for aggregate policies, it could be for a specific area. If you want to do the entire municipality, or just a portion of. So it would, if the interim control bylaw, if you chose to move forward with that, it would have to be specific, like I said, to what the control bylaw is for. And it would have to provide guidance and direction on how we want to move forward with policies or creating those new policies and a budget associated. So I provided some very rough numbers for budget. I didn't do any investigation. I didn't speak to any consultants or determine. The only review I did the consultation that was done through Paladin, which has been brought up, their fee or their charge was about $50,000 for their review for a similar situation. I can't speak to the exact details of what they requested versus what we would and how that may affect the price or the scope of the area. We wouldn't know that until we went out for an RFP to determine exactly what that price would be, but that would be an approximate number. I'd be sure there's lots of questions and I'd be happy to answer whatever I can.
Okay. Tom, thank you, Mayor House.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, went through you to CEO Shipwreck. I guess, so I'm clear, so if we entertained it on ICB, then we don't really know what that really looks like until, the report came back. Then in turn, we get a consultant right away to follow and start the process, is what you were saying, like immediately. And if so, I guess based on the financial, because we're in the middle of our 2025 budget already. We have anything, so if you double the director of anything in reserve that we could entertain.
Through you, Mayor, we currently do not have anything reserves at the moment for that type of a program. It's something we haven't set aside funds for.
If I may, so how would we go outside the budget to cover something like that?
You would be going into a deficit if you started this year, because you don't have additional revenue.
Okay, thank you, Director Mike. So back to the chief. I guess what I'm saying that so to do this, going into a deficit, because we're basically, my understanding is we select the ICB, we got to go immediately almost to engage with the consultant and get that process started, because it could be in the long run. No, what is it, within 2 years, right? Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, that's through you, Mayor. So ultimately, this report that's been brought forward to council just for information purposes only. Ultimately, what council chooses to move forward with, it was up to council. You can choose to move forward immediately. You could choose to say, well, we will look to include something in our 2026 budget and bring forward a bylaw, interim control bylaw at that point, once that budget has been approved in 2026. Ultimately, that's council's decision. We're acting through the planning department for any applications that are coming in now would be reviewed under our current policies, under the current zoning, under the current official plan policies of the county, until we have further direction from council. So
Thank you. Yeah, I do have a concern with those applications coming in before we have any opportunity to do it in the control bylaw, but yeah, I was wondering, and maybe if you can't answer the question, maybe the clerk could, but could we not utilize Paladin's current policy and tweak it to our own needs? would that be like, would they have those rights of that, their policy that we wouldn't be able to entertain a cost savings for our own needs rather than going through consultant costs just to keep our costs down? I don't know if we have that opportunity to do that, if our clerk knows rights and wrongs about that.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So we would not be able to just take their policies and then just write them into ours without any type of consultation. Obviously, council would want some kind of way, like they want to review, they'd want to provide their feedback. The public would want to provide some information. So you would need somebody to take those comments and incorporate it. Now, ultimately, if you went out with an RFP and the same company that did Caledon says, well, we've already done Caledon, now we can do yours for a reduced rate, that would be up to them to provide that rate. They could submit a request or a tender for any amount that they choose if they believe that there's an overlap and they can reduce the funds. Ultimately, that's not usually how it works in the consulting process. Consultants charge what they charge for the process. Whether they've done it 20 times or one time, they charge the same amount in my expertise, but that's always an option. I can't speak to what they would submit in RFP, but all I can say is we cannot do it in-house with the staff situation where we just do not have, we're already working on the official plan for the urban areas of West Gray, Durham and Newstead. In-house, we're working through our planning department and myself doing that. So we would not have capacity to do this or the expertise. Even if we had the time, to be honest, we just don't have the direct expertise that would be required to complete that study in a meaningful way.
Go ahead, Beth.
Well, it's going to be an urgent matter though. Like if these two other applicants come forward yet in this year and we don't have the ICB in place, we're going to have a lot of pushback then from the people in objecting to the applications because the current policy through the Great County official plan doesn't meet the requirements we need to be put in place, like the setbacks from rivers and just there's other things too. So my concern is, do we pay now or do we pay later at an OMB here? You know, so there's still going to be a cost factor there. So you have to really decide whether to move forward and swallow a deficit now and look after it in 2026. But we need to do something, be proactive now.
Yes, through you, Mayor. So currently we already have applications for 3 gravel pits, 3 new gravel pits in West Gray. They're at various stages. Some are complete, some aren't. And municipalities' only role in regards to gravel pits is zoning and the haul road agreement or road upgrades if required. Some require them, some don't, depending on the location. And so through a zoning bylaw amendment, and our planner can confirm me here, but the local residents would not have an opportunity to appeal any zoning bylaw to OMB or an LPAC. Only designated agencies would have appeal rights. So obviously the applicant, County of Gray, SPCA, those types of agencies that appeal would have appeal rights, but local residents wouldn't. So if the municipality chose to approve a zoning bylaw amendment, there would be not necessarily no guarantee that there would be an appeal. Obviously, if the municipality turned it down, the applicant could appeal. So would be up to, but there's no guarantee or no, I shouldn't say, there's no immediate concern that there would be an appeal. Depends on each individual application to review.
Councillor Townsend, Doug?
Thank you. And just seeking I guess, a point of clarification through you, Carl. in your presentation, you said that the current Grey County plan meets provincial standards when it comes to gravel pits. So therefore, they're meeting the standard when it looks for setbacks from rivers and all that other stuff. And I know in reading it, it talks about if there's multiple pits on a road, it takes into consideration traffic wise, all those pits combined, not just individual. So it's taken into, it's currently at a provincial standard.
Yes, so through your mayor, I'm not an expert in it, but from every indication I received from the county, they reviewed their aggregate policy at the last review of their, which I believe was in 2022. And at the time they reviewed it, there were no, they met all the provincial requirements. And their planner, the director of planner there indicated that there have been no amendments since that would require revision to the, from no provincial policy with amendments that would require amendments to the.
Don't go to Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Tom?
Thanks, Mayor. Looking for you to work through your prayer. So just for clarity, so just the OCB, it would be on any new applications came. So I think you made reference, we have 3 now that are on the books, if you will, at different stages. So those would be, they wouldn't be part of this if we went that, it doesn't carry on. But they've got obviously an investment of what they've done their work behind the scenes to get to where they are. Just want that for clarity, would be anything new once we make that decision.
Through you, Mayor. So that's correct. Now, if somebody submits an application just with the signature on the bottom, right, that we wouldn't consider to meet the requirements. So it depends on what level of that application is at and how far along in the process. And staff would review those applications at the time the interim control bylaw is passed. So it's as the date the bylaw is passed that we would review the applications that we have in process and whether they would or would not meet that substantially complete or what level their applications are at.
Yes, Councilman.
Thank you. I just want to outline, we had an updated aggregate bylaw use from the ICDL by Donald Law back in February, and he outlined problems. The current aggregate policies and constraint mapping followed by West Grey are based on outdated Grey County studies from 2004, making them ineffective. And then also in West Grey, there are 29 licensed pits and only 10% of licensed capacity was extracted in 2023. My feeling on that is with these new applications, I know we probably are limited because of provincial priorities, aggregates over all land uses, but these new applications coming forward, because it is so much a need when there's so much more aggregate out there that could be utilized from the pits already in place. So it's a concern adding more to West Grey when I feel there is sufficient, but I know I can't override that. That's just my own personal views, but anyways, it's more for a comment than a response. Thank you.
Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, so I will note that the provincial policy on aggregates is very specific in regards to the amount of existing aggregate cannot be considered when you're reviewing a new application. So there may be 100 gravel pits in an area. Maybe none of them are being used. Maybe some of them are being used. That cannot be considered when reviewing a new application. That's the provincial policy. Any policy that would go against that, in my opinion, would likely be appealable and would likely lose an appeal because the provincial policy is very specific to that requirement. So that cannot be considered, in my opinion, is part of the policy that if there were surrounding, if you have however much of the gravel pit is being used, whether it's 100% or 1%, that cannot be considered in a new application.
Councillor Hutchison. Hold on.
Yeah, so the applicants that are in the works right now, they have to come to us regarding zoning. Rezoning of the area, right? So if they come to us and we say, well, we're in the process of formulating, next year, we're going to budget for an ICBL. So we're going to put this on hold, or we're going to refuse this application until we review our policies. Do you think that would fly, or do you think the land tribunal would refuse that argument?
So through, I can't speak for the tribunal, but the application would, because there's no either a decision or no decision is made, would be appealable after a certain date. So they wouldn't just automatically turn it down. They said, well, because you have an interim control bylaw coming at some point in the future, we're not going to review it. They would review it based on the planning policies that are in place as of the time that they've received their application. So ultimately, no different than any other appeal, or no decision. If there was no decision, then they can appeal the no decision, or if you do make it say council choose to turn it down, since we don't agree with the application because we are looking at a control bylaw in the future, the LPAT would review that based on the planning policies in place at the time of the application.
Any other questions? At this point, we're at, this for information. It's the recommendation, it's in the report. How do we want to receive? Councillor Noon, Joyce?
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with an interim control bylaw to impose interim control on the use of land, building, and structures for new gravel pits or quarries on those lands identified in the Grey County Official Plan, Schedule B Aggregate Resource Area that are within the municipality of West Grey.
See 8 fingers and 2 thumbs working on that here. Got that, Jenny? Great. Okay. So I guess what I'm saying is, Councillor Noon, you've passed motion to work forward to bringing an interim control bylaw forward. Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Forrester, second it. I don't know whether Jamie's got it exact, so I'm going to ask, I think Councillor Noon's got it written down there. Do you want to repeat what you said?
That we move forward with an interim control bylaw to impose interim control on the use of land, buildings, or structures for the new gravel pits or quarries on those lands identified in the County of Grey Official Plan Schedule B Aggregate Resource Area that are within the municipality of West Grey.
Okay. Just for my clarification, I'm going to ask Carl. The municipality can put an interim control bylaw on the county's official plan. That's where I'm struggling on this. Go ahead.
It would not be an interim control bylaw on the county's official plan. It will be an interim control bylaw for the municipality of West Grey. I believe she's just referencing the schedule that is in the Grey County official plan. My recommendation maybe is we just, if council chooses, just to put the interim control bylaw on the entire municipality. If that's.
So just remove in the County of Gray official plan Schedule B. Remove that and just put control bylaw to those lands identified in West Gray, in the municipality of West Gray.
The only thing I would suggest you may want to include is a direct staff to hire a consultant to perform or create the required. I know you don't necessarily need to do that now, but it would have to be done in the near future. Our planner, Mr. Smith, may want to comment on how that would work.
Process wise, you must identify the money before you pass the bylaw. And you must direct staff in order to give them the process of that, taking the money and doing what with it. So you identify $5, you say, issue an RFP, whatever it is in relationship to this before you can pass an interim control bylaw. The act is very specific that you have a process to get to the end of it.
Okay, with that information, I'm not certain that the motion is in, sounds like the motion would be kind of in contravention of the Planning Act and the Act on how to get to an interim control bylaw. Okay, Tom, before I get a comment from the legislative services.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. So just for clarity, so step one then would be to basically direct staff to reach out or do an RFP to the consultant. And then step two would be to, after we've allocated that cost of what that's going to cost and the guideline, or, you know, the guidelines for that, then we would go to this one here to, that's just one clear. That's to give me the process. So this is actually step two that we're at right now.
I think this would be where the RFP is. I can say, I think we need a bit more information on how we're, if council was going to. Well, we've got a motion on the floor right at the present moment that really isn't correct. Hasn't got enough to it. I'm going to go to Jamie first. Jamie, the motion, please.
It's three miracles based on the conversation. What I would suggest is there's two ways that we could go about this. My suggestion for council would be one, to withdraw the motion that's currently on the floor so that we can establish the parameters on how to move forward with this, if that's council's wish. In terms of moving forward, we can undertake this in two ways. We could let the market dictate what the RFP comes back at, so not assign a dollar value at this time and just provide direction to staff to go out for RFP for that study, get those proposals back, see what the cost is, and then council could at that time decide whether or not to allocate funds from the budget from somewhere to that project. Alternatively, council can determine a dollar figure right now and provide that direction to incorporate that into the RFP process. Again, that would have to come from somewhere in the current budget, taking it from somewhere else, or we'd be in a deficit position. So those are our options.
Okay, I'm willing to withdraw my motion then, that we move forward with getting costs, an RFP for costing of a consultant, and leveraging no more than $50,000.
Three miracles. Before we can do that, the motion is still on the floor. We can remove this in a friendly manner if council doesn't object to that. Before we can entertain a subsequent motion, we would just need to make sure that no one on council objects to that. If they do, the motion to withdraw would need to be debated. So.
And we'll take it that you're willing to withdraw it. Seconder is fine with that as well too. Motion's been proposed by the mover and seconder to withdraw. Any questions or comments on that? If nobody has any question, I will accept that it is withdrawn. And the floor is open again to any motions. Councillor Noon. We're looking for something.
Okay, then, I'd like to make a motion then to direct staff to, do an RFP to see what the costing would be for a consultant, to entertain this, study or this, interim control bylaw. And, if I have to include the cost, I would say no more than 50,000. But I don't, outside of that motion, I just don't know how to entertain whether we try to seek it from another area within RGL, or do we take it into a deficit? I think I want to just see what the costs are going to be, and then we make the decision based on those costs. Because there is going to be costs just to have the RFP done, correct?
Carl, you got any clarity on that?
Yeah, 3 minutes. So I guess there's two things. One, I don't know what the cost would be until we go through the RFP process. I mean, ultimately, I think it's going to be approximately $50,000. And then part of the RFP would have to be what you want included and sort of how much consultation and things like that. So my suggestion would be that you request staff bring back a proposal for an RFP that, we can that we can bring forward or bring back to council, and council can determine, how many public consultations do you want? Do you want 1? Do you want 5? Do you want 10? Do you want how many meetings with council members? How much? All those things need to be incorporated into the RFP to determine what the RFP cost would be. So with no guidance from council, it would be difficult from staff to create that RFP. We can make something up, but it may not ultimately be what council would like. So we would need a little bit more guidance on what you want included and how you want that RFP to read.
Joyce?
I'm not sure again, would the area that was done, let me see if my notes here. Would Caledon be able to give us any reference as to how much, when they asked for an RFP, what those kind of costs look like? Just getting a verbal from them, would that, and then bringing that back, just kind of like before we move forward with an RFP? Would we be able to get those costs that they entertain for that work?
Carl?
Yeah, through Mayor. So I did a review of Caledon's agendas and the public information. Their resolution from council was up to a maximum of $50,000. And I found no further resolutions that amended that. So I'm assuming that it came in below 50,000. Now, again, that was approximately 3 years ago. So I don't know what that cost would look like today. I mean, ultimately, we could just copy their RFP from Caledon and reuse that for West Gray's purposes. I mean, we'd have to amend it if there was something in there that didn't apply to West Gray. We could do that and bring that forward back to council for approval. That we can do that. It's just ultimately what council chooses.
Any further comments? David?
You mentioned there, Carl's comments in terms of, it's the public side of things. As Carl mentioned, as he mentioned, is there external steering committee? Is there staff support for that? Is there administrative support for that? Is there one meeting of those? Is there, 3 public meetings held throughout the municipality twice in a given year? Which really tosses the dollar figures up into the air. And obviously, the more you have, the more, right, the cost is. And in some respects, trying to determine yourselves what your expectations are of that helps drive them when you do an RFP, as opposed to them saying, well, how many do you want? Because each of these meetings costs us $2,500 or $3,000, depending where we come from and how it's set up, and the amount of staff support you expect, so on and so forth. So those are what kind of drive, in some respects, the cost. Review of policy and so on and so forth, as you mentioned a number of times, the Caledons and other OPs in Ontario is somewhat on the easier side. You can almost set down a time with staff to run through those, but it's sorting out policy A versus policy B through a conversation with the number of people in an audience that takes the time.
Doug, Councillor Hutchison.
So would those particulars not be laid out in the RFP from Caledon? If we're looking at just sort of copying or rejigging theirs, would those criteria not already be in there?
So through you, Mayor, they may be. I don't know. I did not review the RFP that Caledon issued for their policy review. So
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, so the council, the Caledon one is on the high side. In fact, from my understanding, is that they divorced it from staff altogether and ran it as its own subcommittee of council or something similar to that, which drove, a set of costs that way. So yeah, you can do it exactly the same as that. And, but it certainly drives the higher side of the costs, and it removes, in some respects, you copy somebody else's, you're going to get what that is, as opposed to, within that. So can we go and find it or find similar? Certainly. But I think it was set up in particular for Caledon to remove any sense of staff involvement, or whatever it is, in the discussions about what may be appropriate or not.
Further?
So could we not take a look at that one and use it as a model, and we can rejig it and bring it back to next council meeting with a modified RFP based on Caledon's for our approval to go forward if we're going to go in that direction?
Okay, Jamie?
Through miracles, I think, again, based on what I'm hearing, the best approach to this would be ultimately council needs to determine what council's priorities are with respect to an interim control bylaw. So I think this council needs to look at what that RFP looks like to determine what they want in it and what they don't. So to just take Caledon's wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for West Grey. So not to say that it couldn't help formulate the direction that we want to go, but ultimately I think what council should do is provide direction to staff to bring forward a report on options for an RFP with respect to aggregate policy as it relates to an interim control bylaw, just so we can figure out exactly what council's priorities are before going out to the public with that, or to a consultant.
Mm-hmm. Deputy Mayor Hutchison.
Well, I didn't have that extensive that our clerk just provided, but that's exactly where I was going to go with the motions. That wording there, the various options that are available on bringing a report back. So I'm going to stick with the wording that the clerk had there, and I will certainly
move that.
Move that, but I see Madam CEO has it.
Okay. We'll let you move it, and Madam CEO.
Thank you, if I may. And I think in reading the report and speaking to the director, I think the first thing we should probably have a decision on is, do you want to go down this path? I mean, I'm sensing general agreement around the table, but right now you haven't said that you even want to pursue this. So I think that needs to be the first question that needs to be sort of directed. That do you want to go down this path? And if that's the case, then we can go forward with as the clerk has recommended.
I would suggest if we put this motion that the deputy has and how that goes, that will determine which way we are going. And before I went to you, Madam CEO, I should have asked whether there was a Councillor Deputy Mayor Hutchison is moving that. Is there a secretary for that? Councillor New. Okay. All right. Do you want to read that once again, Jamie?
Yes, through you, Mayor Eccles, let's see where we're at here, that in consideration of staff report options for managing aggregate extraction in West Gray, council directs staff to bring forward a report on options for an RFP to retain a consultant to undertake studies related to aggregate policy as it relates to an interim control bylaw.
It seemed to be clear. All right. Any further discussion on that? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That would be carried. Okay. Well, there we are. We're taking a step to see what it will take budget wise and everything else. Very good. Great discussion. We got tax. Before we get there, can we take a short recess? Ashley, I'm going to say we'll take a recess for a few minutes. Give me 5. Okay, next report we have is 2025 tax rate bylaw. And Carrie. That would require a little bit more legislative stick handling, if I'm not mistaken. Carrie's report there, this is to set the tax rate for the 2025 now that the county has put theirs in. Anything else I need to add into that, Carrie? Nope. This is where we're at. Okay. Not much of an option. This is a absolute. Do I have anybody that wants to move the recommendation? Thank you, Scott. A seconder for the recommendation, Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Any comments, questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Unanimous. Let's skip this next one just as quickly. Carrie, your second one is 2025 grants to organizations in our 2025 budget. Tom, comments?
Just for clarity, so just when we call each item, I just want to make sure we have the option to, those that have declared to step away, but I just want to put clarity. Once those start talking about something, I want to myself and should see others think.
Okay. Carrie, how do you think we should proceed with this? Give it all to one and move on quickly?
Council hasn't split the total amount between healthcare and community initiatives, so I don't know if you want to start with that. We do have our Center Grey Hospital pledge. So when you take that out of the 29,850, it leaves 16,000 for allocation for today. But again, whether you want to split an amount for healthcare or whether you would just want to start with healthcare community and keep going, but that's what the total is.
Okay, my suggestion is we deal with the two healthcare ones. I think those are obviously the biggest and the strongest priority at this point in time. And I'm going to start, well, I guess we'll go down through them in the order that Carrie has them in here. You want to speak to that, Jamie? Go ahead.
Dear Miracles, when we did this exercise last year, we started with this Center Grey Health Services Foundation pledge, just to get that out of the way. It's a consistent number. It's that 13,850 year over year, starting in 2022. So if we wanted to start there, then we could go through the rest.
Yep. That's exactly where we was going. So the Center Grey one was the municipalities pledge a number of years ago for building the Markdale Hospital. Somehow or another, that fund got slightly depleted, and we're back building that back up, and that pledge. Doug, comment.
Can I just make a comment about this process that we're going through here? First of all, I suggested in our last budget that I think we should be pulling the hospital out of this altogether and saying, this is the amount that we have for our organizations that they want to apply. So we took our 13,000 that we've already designated. It's just gone. It's not even there for anybody to use. It's gone to the hospital. And then whatever we set aside for the Durham Hospital, which every year we give them some, whether we set a number on that, whether it be 7,000, which was my recommendation, but anyways, we get there. We set that money's set aside in another pool or pot, and then we have say 20,000 left, whatever. The other thing I think that we need to do in our guidelines for people who apply is we need to set a limit. I think it's crazy that we're getting people asking for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 when we ultimately, I think if we give them $1,000, that's probably going to be it when you break it all down. So I think realistically, for the people out there, say, yeah, we have a little bit of money that we've set aside for fun for you to use for your organization, but the maximum is 1,000. And you see that in other fundings that people apply for. The maximum is this. So then we don't get people asking for $5,000 when when we're struggling to, like, we got 50,000, we're asked $50,000, that's including hospital, but $50,000 and our budget is what? The whole thing was what, 20, I don't know, whatever it is, but you take the two hospitals out of there, you got 20,000 less anyways, put it that way. So I think we need to put some kind of limits and understanding when people apply that this is the maximum you're gonna get. Don't ask for 5,000 when you can only really get 1,000. Okay, so that's my comment.
I'll look forward to putting that into the budget as the new rules come down, that the mayor's got to really have influence on the budget. I'll take those into account. I think good points, Doug. But we're at this point because when we did the budget, this is what we left in there. I think you're correct. The healthcare funding should be maybe in a different line altogether. But that said, this is where we are and this is what we have to deal with today. Markdale Hospital, Carrie's laid it out as to where we are, where we can get to with our commitment by still continuing to commit this. So it's the first one that's on the list, and the funding for that at this point in time comes out of this budget process. So we'll deal with that one first. It's the Markdale Center Gray Hospital Foundation, their hospital fund. How do you want to deal with it? The recommendation is at 13.85, $13,850,000. Tom.
I think it's been pledged. Sorry, it's been pledged, and I think we need to, whether it's this council, past council, it doesn't matter. We pledged it in good faith that would carry on that legacy of that, and I fully support that we stick to that decision, and support it does take care of a good part of our caption area up on the other part of West Gray there, but so I'm certainly going to support that pledge ongoing. Thank you.
Sorry, you're making that a motion that the pledge of $13,850 goes to the Center Gray Hospital Reserve Fund. And Councillor Townsend seconds that. Any further discussion on that one? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. The second one from the recommendation from staff is that we deal with the Durham Hospital Foundation. Noted that, and this is for the hospital foundation, and note that Deputy Mayor Hutchison declared a conflict on that one. And how do we want to deal? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Well, if we're going to deal with it first, I'm going to suggest that we set offer them put out $7,000, because my thinking is when we look at all these other organizations, which I want to try to support, that I'm proposing that a lot of them are $1,000. So I think if we say $7,000, we can get to a lot of these other organizations. But I also like to reserve the right to come back and juggle that 7,000 at the end when we're all said and done to see what we have left over, just because I think there may be some priorities and whatnot from shifting. But my suggestion is 7,000, because when we do that, then that leaves about $9,000, $10,000 for the rest of all these other groups. Committed 13 plus 7, there's 20,000. I was just looking at the number here. So we got 29,850 was our total budget. All right. So which is not a lot when you think that some of them are asking 5,000 and 3,000, right? Doesn't go very far. So that would be my suggestion. I'm saying 7,000 conditional.
Okay. Jamie,
Through Miracles, if council passes a resolution providing $7,000 for this, council would need to introduce a motion to reconsider to change that from 7,000 should we get to that later on in the meeting. So procedurally, just keep that in mind. It would require a 2/3 vote. It does create an extra layer in dealing with this. So if council wanted to kind of set this item aside for now and circle back at the end, that may be more favorable. Just letting you know that we would need a motion to reconsider if you allocated $7,000 down, wanted to change your mind after.
all right. Any other comments? I'm going to comment, I made a big struggle with this one. And quite frankly, it was a 5,000 or a 0. Because right at this present moment, this council has already dedicated somewhere north of $400,000 to the hospital already in the last year and a half. I'm not, that's why I'm looking at it as being a 0. We've committed quite a bit. The hospital foundation is there to do a fair bit for the hospital, but we're doing a fair bit as what it is. We'll leave it at that. Joyce.
I agree. I feel that what has happened with our hospital, that bless their hearts, they're raising all this money for the foundation, through the foundation for this X-ray machine, but when it's all said and done, what if they ever just decide to close the hospital? So they're putting good money into something that could be taken away down the road. So I too agree that we don't support the Durham Hospital at all, the foundation.
Okay. Doug, further.
Okay, I don't have any problem with that. Like, I understand where you're coming from and I agree. We have spent a lot of money and we don't know how much we spent really till it's all said and done. But I could see us foregoing that this year based on the situation. I do hope optimistically that we're going forward with our hospital. And I think there's some good signs that things are changing there. So, but maybe this is the year to do nothing. I can live with that, sure.
So Joyce, you're making a motion to not fund Durham. Councillor Noon made that motion. Second that, Doug? Yep, okay. Any further comments on that? Call the question. All those in favor? All right, that's that one done. All right. What's the next one? Yep, okay, very good. Yeah. I didn't go down far enough. I was still looking at the 2024 one. I was thinking this is very short. Well, I understood why it was short. Okay, in the community initiatives, the next one would be the Normanby Plowing Match or Normanby Plowmen's Association. And if I'm correct in this one, was this one for the, this one is for the Canadian plowing, right? Canadian Plowmen's. Okay. How do you want to deal with that? Comments? Requested was 1787. Joyce.
Thank you. I felt giving them the whole allocation that they've requested because it is a pretty prestigious event that's happening in West Gray, and it puts West Gray on the map. And yeah, I think that it's something that we should support wholly unless we're going to assist them with maybe in kind with how that numbers could affect like any of their rentals, you know, it could offset that 1787 with that sort of thing. So I just feel helping them with this event would be good for all at West Gray. Thank you.
Okay. And what you said was supported at the 1787 plus the offset on the rentals. And I'm gonna look towards Carrie on that to give us clarity on that, because it's not something we can just say free. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if we're doing the rentals in addition to, you need to add more to their value because it will be charged to the grants organization budget and allocated revenue on the facility side, if you're looking at doing it in addition to.
Joyce?
Sorry, no, I meant that the in kind would be part of that 1787, not in addition to.
Okay. And would that, the 1787, would that cover it? Looking at Mike. Because they want the arena for one day and Centennial Hall for 4 days, 5 days? I think it's 4, yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
Just for clarity, point of clarity for Councilor Noon. My interpretation of the question is if we can do a reduction and reduce this. Take 1787, if we're looking at the arena or the hall, that actually we do in lieu and that brings this number down. Is that what the question is? That just through you, Mayor Eccles to Councilor Noon, I just want to be clear on that because that's what I heard my interpretation was.
Yes, it's just to help to reduce their overall cost to run the event. Well, like if the 1787 doesn't cover it all, then they'd have to pick up the balance of it.
So did you get that number figured out? 4 days at Centennial Hall and 1 day at the arena? Carrie?
Based on their application, if they've used the correct rates, they've got use of the Centennial Hall, 1,360, and the Normanby Community Center, 427. So that's a total of 1,787 in there.
And that's what they're requesting.
If that's, you know, without
Yeah.
looking at the rates, if that's the
Yeah.
current.
Yes, that's what I was asking you, or Mike, having the rates at your fingers, is that?
I do apologize. What were can you just run me by what they're after here?
Centennial Hall for 4 days. And Normanby Community Center. I think they just want the hall and the kitchen for the banquet.
So I've got Centennial Hall at a daily of 190. So that's 760 for 4 days. And the hall at 240 per day.
Is that with kitchen, Joyce?
That does not include the kitchen, no. So with the kitchen, it's an additional $107 full kitchen.
But I think they're using the pavilion as well, so they might be generating the whole Centennial grounds, including the hall, for that cost factor, I think, because they're not just using the hall, they're using the pavilion, the outside pavilion as well at the Centennial grounds.
Okay, so I've got the grounds rental, which includes the washroom, diamond and pavilion, for an additional 160. Probably need to, I'll probably need to take some time here to recalculate that unless Carrie's a little quicker than me on that.
Yeah, ultimately, if you can decide the amount, if it's more, then they would have to pay $30 more. If it's, if they, you don't necessarily have to say it can be offsetting towards the facility cost, but it might not cover 100%.
And setting that upset limit on what you want to do is probably the best route. And remembering that the intent of this is not necessarily to cover all of an organization's costs. It's supposed to supplement it. So whatever council's comfortable with setting roughly based on what they asked, if there's additional costs, then they could incur that on their own.
So it is to offset their costs. I think we've got that clear. It's to offset their costs on the rental of facilities. How do we want to deal with it? Still want to go with this $1,787, Joyce, or?
Well, we can round it down to 1,500 just to keep, because it's 29,850, else we're working with odd numbers. So
Yep.
I'm happy with even 1,500.
She's been reading my papers. Tom?
Okay, so we're not adding in any in lieu of or any of that because we've talked about this in the past where once you start one and it goes on. So the 1,500 that we're talking about, that if it's what we decide as council to, that's the one that you're gonna pay back to municipality for the rental. That's, I just want clarity that we're not gonna be given any specials, just so when it comes out for, I just want to be clear on that because we've talked about this quite a few times that we give the one, then we must do for ongoing, and so I think that should be off the table. That, any incentives for that.
Yep. Joyce?
The only reason I'm recommending the additional is because of the specific event happening in West Gray this year. Else I'd look at Bentic Plowman's Association and feel, no, they need to be both on the same page here. But because it's a special event, I feel we could go a little extra this year.
Okay, Tom?
And I absolutely appreciate through you, Mayor Eccles, to tell us noon. But we've had lots of events come forward before the significant events, if you will, that we have not done that. And that's what my concern is. And it doesn't matter. It could be along this category or the ag related, but we've had other special events going on. We've had one this past winter where it was, you were going to pay the full pop, even though it was going for, an excellent cause. And it was capturing a large audience of much that needed, was much needed, the benefit, if you will. And that's where I can't support adding extras in. The cost, and we leave our facilities, the rental fees are straightforward. Because we do one, we gotta do another, and then it just goes on from there. And again, I will make reference to this past winter, we had one and they ended up paying 100% of there was no break. So I gotta stick to that as across the board. Thanks.
Okay. And also look at this, we're giving them $1,500 to, that's it. We'll be charging them for the rental of the halls. Yeah. It looks like it pretty much offsets those halls, but this is our contribution to their hall rentals. But not necessarily the hall rentals, but to put on their production, they can figure out how they're paying for the hall rentals. Okay. Joyce, you were making a motion of 1,500 to the Bentic Plowman. Do we have a seconder for that? Sorry, Norman B. Plowman. Yep, I got the next one. That's what I got in front of me. It's Bentic. Sorry. Doug Townsend, second that. Anything further? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. 1,500. Durham Ag Society. And note that Councillor Forster is declaring conflict. And comments, Tom.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. And just a question, because I did step out for the one prior to that. Where are we at with starting what's left allocated funds for grass service? So I know where we're running tab, minus the top three that came up. If I may, thanks.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor, we have 14,500 left, right?
Okay. Durham Ag Society. Request is 994. Councillor Hutch.
Well, I think make this simple and give the same amount to the Durham Ag Society as we would to the Normanby Carrick Ag Society, as we are to the Normanby Plowmen's Association. Make it 1,500 across the board, and then they're all treated equally. I think we gave them 1,000 last year, according to this list here.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're putting that at the 1,500. Doug Townsend, comment.
Sorry, yeah.
Just a comment. I agree with treating both fairs the same way, whatever number we come up with on that. But I think again, the Normanby Plowmen's Association is something over and above the regular ask because it's the Canadians. I don't think we should lump it in the same as the other because we're going to have Bendick Plowing Association come up here shortly, and they're only asking for 200. So, to turn around and give them 1,500, you know what I mean? Like as much as we want to treat all the ag societies the same and the fairs and the plowmen's associations, the Normanby Plowmen's Association one, I think, is over and above the norm. That's my feeling on that.
Looking at this one, it was just the added comment, but the Durham Ag Society, we're doing them as one-offs. Doug has said 1,500 for the Durham Ag Society. That's how I took the motion. Councillor Hutchison, yep. We have a seconder for that. Yep, Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Any further comments on that? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. The next one was the Newstead Normanby Carrick Ag Society. And I believe he's out too. Okay. Get it down here. It's going to be pretty easy. Anybody else want to leave? It should be about one of us left. Well, yep, we can still have quorum because this doesn't create quorum problem. Yeah. Oh, fun. Normanby and Doug Townsend.
I would make a motion 1,500, same as the Durham Agricultural Society.
Good. Councillor Hutchison seconds that. All those in favor? Got 3, that's enough. Okay, that's carried. Come on, to go. You gotta be kidding me. I think it's the West Gray Youth Center. Ash, can you just, no, I got him. It's okay, Ash. West Gray Youth Center. The next one up. And they're looking for $4,800. Incorporated not-for-profit qualifies. How do you want to address this one? Somebody speak up? Counselor Hutchison, Doug?
Well, I just had some questions with that. I think I'd like to support them. They are a small group. And I question how many students they have involved, given that they're asking for almost $5,000. Part of it is startup costs, I believe, too, but just recently there was something announced about, I don't know, it was Bruce Power or someone was coming up supporting youth hubs across Grey and Bruce County. Was that through Bruce Power? I actually can't remember.
Bruce Power was,
Yeah.
Bruce Power kicked in $1 million, but it was more on mental health, but
But
it's hubs. It
it is
started
a
in
hub, right?
Goderich.
So I wondered how
That
that
would be
might
there.
tie in with what we're doing here, whether there's any opportunity. So anyways, I'd like to support them. I'm not sure if I really want to support $5,000. That's my thoughts. I was thinking more along the line of $1,000, but
We need a number.
I said 1,000.
Good. All right. Moved. Seconded by Deputy. The other Hutchison, not related. Now. DNA to be determined. Okay. Any further questions or comments on that? If not, then we have the motion for 1,000. In favor of that? Yes, yeah,
Oh, sorry.
yes, in voting for that, for $1,000 for the youth center. Yes, great youth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Opposed? Carried. All right. It was 1,000. Have to change that one. Not what I was going to give them. The next one, Bendick Plowman's Association. They were looking for about the same as what they've always done. $200, I believe. And I don't have that there. Tom,
That one I can do, that's an easy one.
you can move it with your mic on.
Yeah, I apologize. Said that one I can certainly move. I don't think that one's gonna be
All
too
right.
big of an impact on our, what we're working on. Thanks.
So $200 to the Bendick Plowman's.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a seconder for that? Scott? Thank you. Any other further comments? Questions? Hutch?
Yeah, I'm just curious why they only asked for 200. Like, I mean, they do have other costs involved here. Like saw somewhere number $2,000.
don't think so.
Total project cost $2,020. Yeah, I have no problem giving them $200. I'm just curious why they don't ask for more, given that they know that some of the other associations are asked more, but anyways, I can live with 200 if that's all we want to do.
That's all that they want to balance out their budget.
Yep.
Yeah, it's usually $2,000, but there's a number of other sponsors that they have in that. Do a very good job. It would be very similar to the Normandy Plowmen's Association had they not been hosting the Canadians this year. And their plow, the local Normandy Plowmen's, I noticed that they didn't enter anything this year because of this Canadian championship. They forego their own for this. So Bendick, yeah, it's because we've always done it that way. Yeah. Okay. So any further questions, Joyce?
Just for confirmation, did we not give them 300 in 2023? Or 2024, sorry.
Nothing on the sheet.
Yeah.
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 I promise you. Yeah. confirming that with Carrie. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And was 300, but they're asking for 2. Okay, any other questions on the Bentic Plowman? And I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That one's carried. Elmwood Community Services Association. We're looking for $1,500. How do we want to address this one? Anybody? Joyce, sorry. Yeah, you're still live.
I recommend $750. Let me see. Yeah, I was just wondering, that we already provide funding for the Elmwood facility. Has Brockton, been approachable to contribute? So that's why I didn't want to support the whole amount.
This organization, I'm not, I haven't heard, I don't know. Yep. It's not really a new organization, it's just rebranding, renaming the whole Chamber of Commerce. But looking for a little bit. But Joyce, you move 750. Okay. Do I have a seconder for that? Sir Hutchison? Okay. Anything further? No questions on that? All right, then I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. West Gray Minor Lacrosse. Tom?
If I may, I've kind of lost track of just where we are currently, what's left, please, and thank you.
We have 9,550 left in the budget.
Okay. Any comments on West Gray Minor Lacrosse? I'm going to start with Joyce. All right.
I recommend it, no funding, that, we have minor hockey, we have soccer. We have, I mean, we do give, relief on rentals for those organizations, but, I don't know if we give a discounted floor rate for lacrosse. I'm not sure if we do or not, so I feel that we're already supporting those youth groups in West Gray. So I said no funding.
Carrie?
Yes, they get the minor sports rate, which is a lower rate than an adult rate, rental rate.
And Hutch? Councilor Hutchison?
Yeah, I think it's great that we're getting a lot of use for our arenas from this group, but I also question, I think there's a lot of people that come from outside our area to play lacrosse. It's not just West Gray residents. And like most sports, the registration fee covers their costs. So yeah, I'm not in favor of supporting them at this time. I think well, there's other groups too that we don't do a lot of other things for. So yeah, I would say 0 this time.
Okay. Joyce, you moved that. Doug, you seconded that. That West Gray minor lacrosse not be approved for any funding. Any other questions, comments on that? All those in favor of that? Opposed? That's carried. Trinity Lutheran Church Community Gardens. I believe Joyce has a conflict on this one. What are the thoughts before we get going into this? I've had a conversation with both Mike and, go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you so much through Mayor to Council. In the budget of this year, Council did set aside budget money for community gardens in an attempt to expand community gardens across and provide equity among all of our communities. That was an allocation outside of the budget of the community or the grants to community organization. I believe 2,500 was included in that budget. And in the business case that council reviewed for that this year, it did have a commitment that we only fund a max of 50% of the cost for that, so that there is invested community interest in it. So there is a separate line in the budget of up to $2,500 for community gardens that could be funded if it was council's wish outside of the grants to community organizations.
Huh? Well, I mean, go ahead, Carrie.
The organization did request 100% funding, so in your budget for community gardens, it was that the organization would provide half of, they need to show that commitment. So the organization did apply through the grants to organizations because they are looking for 100% of the funding.
Okay. So a fair bit of what I'm taking, it is a fair bit of that for the Lutheran Church community will be, could be covered under the community gardens project. Mike, that's kind of your understanding?
That is correct.
And they still are looking for a little bit extra to get it all, because apparently there wasn't enough on the collection plate last week.
And the location that they're proposing is at the Nornby Arena.
And we are supplying as well, supplying the land up where it'll be public access there. Okay, Tom.
Thank you, Miracle. Thank you, Miracle. So 3134 that I'm looking at in front of us, just for clarity, was the total ask, or was there something else came over on that other side for that? But this is the total with the request to do the whole community. So you said we 50% of the 25 that we set aside, and nobody else came forward. 50% of this 3,100 number represents that special line item that we put aside. Am I on the right track? So that's, are they I guess, are they hitting two categories? We got the 2,500 one we set aside and we have this one. So is this a top up to give them a full complement? I guess where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Is that, just want to make sure.
Thank you through Mayor Council. That was my intent, and it does strike, and I don't know if they did it intentionally, but in my mind, it would go against the intent of this. It might be considered double dipping. You either ask for it here or you ask for it there.
Thank you. And that's what I was trying to get to. So it's actually, they're actually qualifying under two. Now, may I ask, what other uptake do we have on that other side there? Is there any other uptake, or is it, that's just that 25 to sit unasked for?
Thank you through you. At this point, we have not had any other requests for community gardens, but it doesn't mean there might not be subsequent requests coming forward, or alternately that council, if you want to encourage more public, we could actively solicit. We have not actively solicited from the other communities for this year or future years.
So based on that, at this time, so the 3134 would actually go on 50% of what we're proposing would go towards that other one that's set aside in the budget Obviously, I think that would be administrative to make that decision. So based on that, I think we could probably support the 50% based on no other applicants forward, and that therefore this will put this one at 0 on this one here within the grant. So I will make a motion that they qualify over there with what's budgeted, and this one here, I'm not gonna call double dip, that's not appropriate words, but I will classify this one as 0 because it's being funded from elsewhere. Thank you.
I'll second that and I have a question. So looking at the project budget, I find it interesting that they've given us purchase price from Home Depot for these boxes, garden boxes, like 500, 750. To me, my first thought is, why wouldn't someone like Dom's donate some lumber and build these boxes probably for a little cheaper than that? But anyways, that's up to them to decide. But I just thought it seems sort of funny that they would put that in there as a costing.
So just through you, Mayor Eccles, to Councilor Hutchison, I've sat in several meetings, just kind of sitting there listening, but they had to put a number in. And yes, going out and talking to the various support around, they had to provide a number, I believe, as part of the process. So that's what you're looking at, worst case scenarios. But they want to get a number in. Thank you.
Okay. Did we vote on that one? Anything else? Well, the question on that is to basically direct, the funding will come from a different portion, but in this aspect, it's at 0, right, Jamie?
Yes, through Mayor Eccles, I do have that caveat in here that council forgoes granting money to Trinity Lutheran Church for community gardens in 2025, as there are funds for community gardens allocated in the 2025 budget.
Very good. Okay. Any other comments? Call the question. Sorry, go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
Are we approving the funds from the community gardens at this meeting?
I would say no. That would be more for the facilities, that's under, the budget is there and to be used at that discretion, I think is where it was. That's my interpretation. I think that's what you had in mind too, Mike.
Yep, that was my interpretation of it as well. As the requests come in, we would allocate accordingly.
Okay, Tom?
Okay, so that's, thank you, Mayor Eccles. And that takes me back to kind of where I was. So if they don't qualify, or you had a lot more pressure on the one that's already been budgeted for, this could change them significantly because of, I know it's a maximum of 50%. So we don't know. They want to get going on a project, for example, and all of a sudden you get several more applications, they could be quickly down to $500 with more. That's what I was trying to get to is it better to be here where we have control, or backward to staff to administrate what's been approved by council? I'm trying to identify that because we're talking about 50% at this time of this request, which is in the budget, but we don't know, again, that's administrative, so we can't give direction after the fact. So I'd like to know kind of how that's going to look.
Michelle?
Thank you. When the budget request came through this year and council approved the separate community budget line, in the budget request, it did talk about this being an ongoing project. The money has at this point been set aside annually to encourage annual uptake. So every year, there's an opportunity this year to put up your hand. And if the budget is tapped out, then you can either wait till the subsequent year in hopes that there's funds available. And it did say in the budget request that the first right of refusal, so to speak, would be for communities that currently do not have a garden. So existing gardens would not have the ability to reapply.
So they're kind of number one at this
Yes.
point in time. One and only. Okay. All right. What's that information? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. What's the next one? Trinity Lutheran Church monthly food hampers. And Joyce has declared a conflict on this one as well, too. Questions on this one? Doug?
Do we not have a food bank in West Craig?
I believe we do, yes.
Okay, just,
Yes, I know we do.
I know.
We
We
were here-
we
that was a
presented to them the other
rhetorical
night, I
question.
know.
Yeah, we have them here and they do reach out to several communities. Beyond their, just the main headquarters or whatever are situated more in the Durham area, but I know that they do travel delivering food boxes. How do we want to deal with this one? Doug? Townsend?
I'm gonna go with $0 because I don't think it's council's business to be a food bank.
Okay. Councillor Townsend puts it forward at $0. Anybody want to second that? Seeing that there's Doug?
I'm just gonna, a little clarification on my $0. This ask is specifically looking to look after 15 families. So if we start doing it for what you did, if we start doing it for specific families and whatnot, then I mean, what's any ratepayer could come to us and say, well, I need money for food hampers. So it's not a general overall project. It's to do for 15 families. So.
Okay, that's your reasoning. I'll ask once more, is there anybody to second the motion of $0 to this? Hmm? All right. Councillor Hutchison? Well, do you want to second it?
Second.
No? No seconder, that motion's dead. What do we want to do with the Trinity Lutheran Food Bank? Councillor Hutchison?
Well, I'm curious, have we donated to the Durham or West Gray Food Bank in the past?
My memory tells me that it was a number of years ago, but yes, we have. Carrie?
Yeah.
It's been several
Several
terms
years.
of council ago, but. See.
Want to know how long ago it is? I believe that it was probably a motion moved by then Deputy Mayor Bell, so that'll tell you how long ago it was in my memory anyways. Well, Carrie's looking that up. Further question, Doug?
So my thoughts are, given that this is the Ayton area, which may restrict some people for having access to the West Gray Food Bank, which is out of Durham. I wouldn't mind supporting them this time, but like say $1,000 to help out. I think it's a very worthy cause. And it's, compliments to the church for taking on this responsibility. So maybe we try to help them out, get their foot established, continue on with their program. But I wouldn't see us doing it every year sort of thing. But if they need to have consistent suppliers, if they're going to continue on with this program, that's all. So I would be willing to support $1,000.
Okay, Tom? Deputy Mayor?
Oh, sorry, me. I need a button.
I would gladly second that, and I do have a comment after when
Okay, it's on the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think I can can say that some of the Durham Food Bank is not a West Grade food bank, it is called the Durham Food Bank. And there is some mobility issues from there getting over. There is some challenges from outside of the Durham area, including Newstead, which this is actually in a Newstead and Ayton, and that area that where Trinity would kind of, collect the majority of it. So there is there's some issues getting over this way and getting there, where 1 and 2 is. Some of this stuff is delivered directly to the ones that are in need, if you will, for a variety of different reasons. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So I certainly do support it. I think they are not a food bank. They are not the Durham, like red set up like the Durham Food Bank, but they're doing a similar service in an area doesn't have availability to be right here. So I would support it for sure. Thank you.
Okay, anything further? So it's $1,000, I believe you said. Yep. All right. I will call a question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. I think that should be the end of Joyce's. Before you sit down, Ashley, yeah, can you? We got her attention. Next one, Special Olympics. What do we want to deal with this one? Special Olympics, so Sabine. I believe they're looking at somewhere $1,000, 1,072 for their ice costs. Anybody? Doug? Yep.
Do we not subsidize their ice rental costs now?
Look towards Carrie on that, but I think I know the answer.
I think they get the minor sports rate.
Yes. Yes, we do. And we'll go to this Hutchison before I go to that one. Tom, before Doug.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and through you to, you might know this one, but I believe they also have some equipment stored at the Normanby, and I don't know what that looks like. If it's still there, I know that one time they did, and we were, I think that was part of a 2023, I believe, budget, but I don't know if we were collecting on that one, what that looks like.
Yeah, I can't say if there's still equipment there or not. I think they moved it over when they had to move from Walkerton, but I don't know. I can't say for sure if it's still there without checking with John.
Yeah, and I'm unaware as well. I do apologize. I can only speak on the minor rate that they are given as a subsidy. And then there was a little tidbit of information that might be helpful is they were to commit to 15 weeks previously, and they have canceled 9 of the weeks. So they used 6 of those 15 weeks. It just might be some information that might be helpful.
Okay, thank you. There is probably some, I believe it was 2023, that we supported that for them to move their equipment over, and I believe it's under the bleachers there, and that was part of that. Part of that at that time, that budget that we supported. And then where there was discussion around insurance that we needed to check and ongoing storage plus the rental that needed to be discussed at the next budget. We didn't do this last year, that exercise. So I think myself, I will put a motion forward that we support them with no support this year with that, based on what I believe they're already getting and based on the cancellations. So I put forward, thanks for no support. Thanks.
Yeah, so my understanding is the equipment is still there. It was there in the winter time when it was used as a bouncing mat for some of the kids at the arena. So it was at the end of the arena there being stored. I believe it was for their speed skating is what they used it for, sort of protect them from the boards. And I question the number of participants. I know there's at least one West Gray resident, but I think there's a number of that come from the Brockton area too, sort of thing. So again, we're subsidizing outside our community. So yeah, I agree that we do give them a preferred rate and leave it at that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Durham Art Gallery. It's in this pile here someplace. Moved it. Durham Art Gallery is asking for $1,800. Any comments, questions, thoughts? Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. Through you, sir, to Director Mighton. I'd just like to know the magic number because I keep losing track when I'm writing other notes down here. What's remaining? Thank you.
Balance left in the budget is $8,550.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, how do we want to recognize the art gallery? Something that we have in the past, Carrie. I've always have sponsored semi-regularly, and up and down. All right, with that information, what do you want to do with this proposal? Doug?
I agree. At one time, we used to fund the art gallery through the economic development budget. Then we stopped doing that, and then it came to this budget. I see we did donate $1,000 last year to the group. I just question, I know they provide a service and they're, valuable to our downtown core. But they received a fairly hefty donation a few years ago, which I think would be in reserves. And this to me, they're buying equipment sort of thing, which to me would be a one-time purchase out of a reserve, I would hope. But anyway, so I just question, like we don't are privy to their budget, I guess, but I would think that they would have some money in reserve that he would fund some of those things. So I'm up in the air in terms of funding or not.
Joyce?
I'm not familiar with this organization that well, and maybe they do, but do they do fundraising like to help offset their costs? Maybe there's some incentives that they could do themselves to do some fundraising for their cause.
Yes, they do a number of fundraising. There is membership to the art gallery. There's one thing I just noticed. The request is for $1,090, and we've got it in here at 1,820. Yeah. I was just going to say, Carrie got, project budget, but they're looking for $1,090. $730 less, but it's $1,090 is the request. How do we want to deal with it? Last couple of years, we've donated $1,000 to them on an annual basis to support this nonprofit. Tom?
So it's 1,090 is what the number was? Right, yeah, so I could support $1,000 because I do think that the Durham Art Gallery in its own way does do some economic tourism. There's a connection there. Does bring some people into the community and is, it's an attraction for us. So I could support this again for those enhancements there, and I'll leave it at that. I will put $1,000 forward.
Okay. Doug? Second that. Thank you. Councilor Townsend. Any further questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That one's carried. Bruce Gray Mentorship. They're looking for 1,700, I believe. What's the feelings? Any questions, comments on this? Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. I believe this one was before us last year, from what I recall, and I don't think we supported them. In fact, I know we didn't. So, you know, we've always said, well, not always, but I will say that, you know, well, I've been saying here, we have said, you know, we try to be diversified. Yes, there's qualifiers. We try to, you know, support kind of new ones and just rotate some of the goodwill, if you will, throughout. But it did score high on mine, but you know, I would be open to based on so we're down to probably 75, 50. Not that I want to spend it all, but I could see maybe $500 for this. And actually, I'm going to put forward $250. Thank you.
250.
Yes, sir.
We have a seconder for that? Councillor Forrester. Any other comments, questions? Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I agree. We have seen this before, and I don't believe we've funded before. They do a mosaic run in our conservation area, I believe, and they paint people as they run through around the course and whatnot. The question I have though is it is a great Bruce thing, and the office is in Hanover, and they support a lot of people besides it's Bruce Gray Mentorship besides just West Gray. So it's taking into account a lot of other people. So I'd support partial funding if you like, sort of thing, because it's obviously supporting more than just West Gray.
Okay, thank you. This is organic paint packs, powder paint, of course, and it'll be all environmentally friendly in the Conservation Authority. I'm not going to go any further, Mr. Chair. We have a 250. Anybody else comments? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. The last one that we have, the Durham Sauntering Band. Looking for $4,700 to pay for professional training. 12 months of the year. How do you want to deal with this one? Joyce?
That's a question more for the treasurer. The previous Durham Girls Band, did we help fund them in some way previously? I don't know, kind of give this merit to a one time to help the Durham Sauntering Band?
If memory serves me, it was a Trillium Foundation grant. We partnered because the grant flowed through to us, but we did not spend tax dollars on it.
No. Oh. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, again, it's a tough one. I don't know, like, do they collect membership fees to offset their costs? Or do they reach out to other agencies for support as well? I don't know where they're all reaching out, or if they're just reaching out for West Gray for to just offset their costs. So yeah, at this time, I don't know what I'd be willing to contribute to their cause. Thank you.
Okay. Tom?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Miracle. So just to go back to what we're talking about was, I think there was some used instruments that maybe last year we had talked about. from that group that came, maybe it was 2 years ago, but they came forward to funding to buy them or take over. And I believe at that time, Carrie, I think you just said that, went through a trim or whatever group, but we did not support it. And it's really along that same basis or the same conversation that we had at that time where we did not support. So therefore, based on that, I am going to stick on to the same principles where we don't offer any support for this at zero. That's where I'm going to go. Thanks.
No, no. Okay. Councillor Hutchison, please.
Just a comment, under 3C, it talks about training, and I just have a question with some of the wording in here that professional members train new members. It's time to seek a way to compensate them for their time and experience. So we're paying for salaries of people who are training other adults, and basically they are reaching out to kids though too. Also in the project budget, they got professional training of $40 times 4 hours a month, or $160 at 12 months. So you're looking at $2,000 for training members. To me, and they do charge for, I know the VA compensated for somewhat for performing at the Christmas tree lighting. They do charge for performing now. So I don't think this is really under the realm of what we're looking for. So I'm happy with zero.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. And I just want to, for the record, that I did basically put forward zero, and I didn't know, I think you just were talking to the clerk there, so I did present a zero who has moved, and it sounds like seconded now.
Thanks for keeping us on track, Tom. All right. So there is a motion for zero for the sauntering band. Any further questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor of the motion? That's carried. So we have a slight reserve. Gary? 7.
Oh. Yeah, the unallocated balance is $7,300 for the balance of this year.
Very good. I think that's it for that. Thank you for that, Carrie. All right, the next one, I guess, on our agenda. Jamie. It's land purchase, sale.
Thank you. And through your miracles, this is a request to purchase municipal property in the town of Durham on Plan 508. A request to purchase the subject lands was received in early 2025. Staff have determined that the lands are not required for municipal purposes and are supportive of the lands being declared surplus and disposed of through the solicitation of bids, and that a minimum bid should be established based on the appraised value of the land to ensure that the property is disposed of at fair market value. So the property is approximately 3.56 acres in size and is just east of the municipal office, kind of northeast slightly. So the recommendation is there, and with that, I'd be happy to take any questions that council may have.
Councillor Hutchison, Doug.
Is this property not east of the Kanani property that we were talking about this morning? Right,
Correct.
so between it and the residents in town, sort of.
Under the bottom.
Yeah.
Through your miracles, that is correct, yes.
And did we not have, it seems to me there was something in planning on this before previously, because was something with the streets. So we didn't have any offer to purchase at that time. It seems to me we spent some time on this And there was a fair bit of hazard land in here. I guess the other part of the question I want to ask with this is how much of this land that we're selling is developable? Is it all hazard land? Because I know there might have been an EIS or a study of some kind done in that area, was it not? Oh, yeah.
Don't be looking at those.
Through your Eccles, in my time with the municipality, there's been no request for this piece of land specifically. There is a large portion of it that is hazard lands. This was not a part of the Kanani proposal to purchase land. It's separate and distinct. It is right next to it, but this was not incorporated within their offer. As for an EIS, I can't speak to that, but as I mentioned, most of the land is hazard land, but there is some that falls outside of that natural environment land.
And I believe if you go back far enough, as you and I do, sitting around the horseshoe here, Doug, yeah, the municipality did look into that. It's, as Jamie has said, most of it is in hazard. But I believe if you put it together with one or two of the other parcels that's in there that's privately owned, you may get one building lot, you might even get two. But yeah, for municipal purposes, I certainly agree with Jamie that we won't have any use for it. The municipality won't have any use for it in the situation where it is. Okay. So that's the recommendation. Any other questions on this? Tom, please.
I'll move the recommendation, Minister.
All right, seconder. Councillor Townsend. Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Call the question and all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. Then I guess we're down to bylaws, are we not, Jamie? Oh, sorry. Jumping too quickly. Questions? Any questions from members of council today on anything? Notice of motions, we don't have any announcements. Anybody have any announcements? Scott? Councillor Forrester.
Thank you. Coming events, community-wide yard sales in West Gray in the village of Ayton, Elmwood and Newstead on Saturday, June the 7th. And then the Durham Herb Fair is on Saturday, June 14th, 9 to 3, Riverside Park, hosted by the Durham Horticultural Society.
Very good. Anything else? Any other announcements? Anybody announcing how much they got bit by black flies in the last couple of days over the? No? Newstead Lions Club certainly has their Lobster Fest is next Saturday. I'm not sure whether they've sold out tickets yet or not. The last I heard that they were, yeah, getting down to being very close. Thanks, Scott. I do have mine, so I'm okay. Yeah. Yeah, this Saturday. Yeah. Or like next Saturday. Yeah, this coming Saturday. Yeah, yeah, the next Saturday. Yeah, the next Saturday. Yeah, past this Tuesday. Okay. All right, somebody's getting hungry. They're getting hangry here. We'll get this done. Any other announcements? Joyce? Councillor New.
On June 1st, the Ayton Norby Homecoming is hosting the event, the car show and craft sale at the Norby Arena from 9 till 3.
Excellent, thank you. And the Elmwood Community Center on Friday night, this past Friday night, another successful, their first for 2025 wing night. Scott was very successful. I had takeout. I didn't get there, but I understood it was well attended. And I was talking to a couple of the workers. Yeah, very well done. Once a month they do that. Okay. Nothing else? Closed session? Don't believe we have any. And that does bring us down to bylaws. Thank you, Jamie. We have 17.1 to 17.7, a number of them under zoning. passed by the committee. Do we need any of those pulled? We can do them all under one motion. And if there's none of them being pulled, then I could entertain a motion to enact the bylaws as presented.
I will make that motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Townsend, the seconder. Councillor Forrester. Thank you, Scott. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. With all the business on the agenda completed, I'll move that we adjourn.